In this video, I'm gonna be giving you some crazy facts about every single devil fruit in Blox fruits. Starting off, we got the rocket fruit, and this is the cheapest fruit in the whole game, but at least it has a decent movement ability. But keep in mind, it is still the cheapest, but that does not mean it's the worst. Next up, we got the spin fruit, and in my opinion, this is the literal worst fruit in the whole game, because it doesn't even have a decent movement ability like the rocket fruit. It's just overall terrible, and I recommend if you have this fruit, immediately get your hands on a new one. Next up, we got the chop fruit, and this actually seems bad at first sight, but there's one special thing that this fruit has that separates it from all the other terrible fruits, and that is its immunity to sword damage. You literally can't take damage to anyone with swords. This counts for NPCs and players, even if they have hockey or not. And this is literally one of the best passive abilities in the whole game, but the abilities themselves are pretty terrible. Next up, we got the spring fruit, and a pretty cool thing about this fruit that you might have not known is that the movement ability of the spring fruit, which is called spring leap, is actually faster than the light fruit, but that's only the movement itself. The way you use the movement ability is much different to the light fruit, because for this you actually need walls nearby, and it's pretty hard to find those sometimes. And keep in mind, the longer you use the ability, the faster you get, so technically it's possible to get infinite speed with the movement ability. Next ability we got here is the bomb fruit, and the bomb fruit actually has the longest knockback out of every single fruit in the game. Like, the self-destruct ability actually sends you flying, and I've never seen any other fruit in the game do this. Next up, we got the smoke fruit, and this is the only elemental fruit in the game without an awakening, but it is still the best cheap option for grinding because it's elemental, and the F ability smoke bomber makes it incredibly easy to farm people. Next up, we got the spike fruit, and a pretty cool thing that you might have not known about this fruit is that the longer you hold the key for the Z ability, the bigger the spikes are. So if you literally just click the ability, it's gonna look like this, and if you hold it down, it's gonna look like this. You see the difference? It's pretty crazy. Next up, we got the flame fruit, and here's a cool fact about the V2Z ability. Blue fire bullets. Everyone knows that it went through multiple changes, but the reason they settled with blue fire bullet is to actually symbolize the awakening of the flame fruit, because in real life, blue fire actually burns a lot hotter than orange fire, which shows how powerful the awakened flame is. Next up, we got the falcon fruit, and this is probably the worst beast fruit in the whole game, and the fact for this is that all the abilities of the fruit are completely useless without the wings. Next up, we got the ice fruit, and a lot of you might have not known this, but when you use the ice trident to farm NPCs and you have your hockey activated, you will actually gain absolutely no hockey, and the reason for that is because you're still technically using a devil fruit, even if it may look like a sword. Next up, we got the sand fruit, and the special thing about the sand coffin ability that this fruit has, it's actually inspired by a Naruto character named Gaara, and he used this in an episode to seal Madara, and the ability itself looks a lot different to what it looks like in the anime. Next up, we got the dark fruit, and a thing a lot of you guys might have not known is that in One Piece, it actually disables the abilities of other fruits when you're fighting against them, but I guess that would be way too overpowered to add to Blox fruits. That's the reason the developers didn't do it. Good call on their part. Next up, we got the diamond fruit, and I'm specifically talking about the C ability for this, Diamond Hail. This ability is actually copy-pasted from one of my game 43's old games, and that game is Elemental Battleground. And if you're wondering what ability I'm talking about in specific, it's the ice ability. They literally look exactly the same. Next up, we got the light fruit, and everyone knows this is the fastest traveling fruit in the whole game. Well, that's only when it comes to movement, I guess. Next up, we got the rubber fruit, and this is something a lot of you might have not known. It's the fact that it doesn't take any damage from the rumble fruit, no matter if you have hockey on or not, and also it doesn't take any damage from every gun in the game as well as the electric fighting style. You can still use stuff like electric claw though, so it isn't completely broken. Next up, we got the berry fruit, and the thing you guys might not know is that the barriers are completely invincible. Like, you can use the strongest ability in the whole game on these barriers and they will literally not break at all. And the only way to get around them is to literally get around them. You have to go around. Next up, we got the ghost fruit, and for this one, once you die, you spawn back in with half health. But there's a pretty cool glitch you can do is to actually transfer the ghost effect to different fruits, and this is what that looks like. It's pretty cool. Next up, we got the magma fruit, and this is a fruit in the game that actually does the most damage, and the reason for that is when you use the abilities of the V2 magma fruit, it actually leaves behind these humongous blobs of magma, and if you count the damage from those, it's literally unmatched in damage, and this is the reason it makes it the best for boat raids, and sea beast hunting. It's the second best fruit in the game when it comes to grinding. Next up, we got the Quake fruit, and I'm specifically talking about the V2Z ability, Fatal Demolisher. A pretty cool thing that you might have not noticed about this ability is that it's extremely similar to the Sharkman Karate C ability, where the ability sucks you in, holds you for a second, and then throws you away. Next up, we got the Buddha fruit, and this is no surprise, it's literally the best fruit for grinding in the whole game. Once you use your transformation, your hitbox is actually 8 times what it normally is, but your range is also increased to 8 times, which makes it extremely overpowered. Next up, we got the love fruit. A pretty cool fact about this fruit is that it was actually updated on Valentine's Day last year. It used to be kind of terrible before, but now it's kind of decent, I guess. And also the movement ability is pretty cool. Next up, we got the spider fruit, and this fruit actually used to be called the string fruit, but it was changed because of copyright. Next up, we got the sound fruit, and a pretty interesting fact about this fruit is that every single move that this fruit has is actually area of damage, which makes it extremely good for grinding, and the effects also look incredibly amazing, probably one of the best in the whole game. Next up, we're moving on to the phoenix fruit. The cool thing about this fruit is that it only has 2 abilities to do damage. The rest of its abilities are transformation, its regeneration, and its wings. Kinda interesting why you need a transformation and a wings ability, whatever works, I guess. Next up, we got the portal fruit. And remember before how I said the light fruit is the fastest fruit in the whole game? Well, this is technically faster, but you don't actually move, I guess, you teleport. And another interesting fact about this fruit is that it actually used to be called the door fruit. And this also got changed for copyright because the fruit was a direct copy paste from One Piece. Next up, we got the rumble fruit. And one of the abilities of this fruit is actually inspired by a jutsu from Naruto. Specifically the one Sasuke uses right here called Kirin. The similarities are unmatched. Next up, we got the pain fruit, and this fruit actually used to be called the paw fruit, but it was changed for copyright reasons, just like so many other fruits on this list. But the cool thing about this fruit is that the abilities still have paws, which I guess is to reminisce about when the fruit used to be called paw. Only OGs remember this. Next up, we got the blizzard fruit. I'm talking specifically about the Z ability for this one, Snow Shuriken. A cool fact you might have not known is that the more you charge up the ability, the more shuriken you will actually throw. If you're in a PvP fight, sometimes it's better to not actually stand still because then you're very vulnerable to attacks. You have to always keep moving. But if you're fighting against NPCs, then it's good to hold down this ability because you obviously want to prioritize your damage over your movement. Next up, we got the gravity fruit, and this is the worst mythical fruit in the whole game, but it is also the cheapest mythical fruit, and it's also the worst option for PvP. So if you're a bounty hunter, make sure you do not get your hands on this fruit. You could probably get a fruit that's 10 times better for like half the price. Like take the magma fruit for example, that's like a lot better, and the Buddha fruit. These are all fruits that are underneath this. And why isn't the Buddha fruit a mythic fruit? It's one of the most OP fruits in the game. Next fruit we got here is the mammoth fruit, and this is actually something that was added in update 20, and it is a very cool fruit. And the fact for this one is that the movement ability, the F ability here, is actually infinite. Like as long as you hold down the key, you can keep the ability going forever. But the difference between this movement ability and most of the other infinite movement abilities in the game is that this one actually does damage. It might not be a huge amount, but you can use this for farming. Next fruit we got on this list is the T-Rex fruit. And these two fruits actually give me similar vibes. Maybe because they're both like prehistoric creatures or whatever. The fact about the T-Rex fruit is that you'll actually have a tail when you have the fruit equipped. Which is pretty weird because when you switch to a fighting style or a gun, that tail automatically disappears. Nope. Makes no sense. How can you regrow and grow a tail so quickly? Well, I guess it is a game after all. It doesn't really need to make sense. Next fruit we got here is one of the most satisfying fruits in the whole game, and I'm obviously talking about the dough fruit. And for specifics, I'm going to be talking about the V2 of this fruit, as well as the movement ability. Did you know that the roller donut in its V1 form actually does absolutely no damage? It can't go up walls or ride on water. But once you awaken the movement ability, it changes its looks to be a lot better. But the looks are not the only thing that have changed. You can actually now do damage with this movement ability as well. And if you turn on your hotkey, the roller donut also glows with that color. And you can actually pull enemies with the donut, which look very cool. And next up, we got a fact about the shadow fruit. And everyone knows that the shadow fruit has an umbra meter. And a lot of you might be wondering, what the heck does umbra even mean? Well, it actually means shade / shadow in Latin, which is a pretty cool thing because it fits the whole shadow vibe. Next up, we got the venom fruit. And a pretty cool fact about this fruit is kind of does the opposite of our expectations. Everyone knows that every movement ability in this game is actually slower depending on how low your health is. But for the venom fruit, it's completely opposite. The lower your health, the faster your movement ability travels, which is pretty weird because it's completely different from the other fruits. So now I guess you know what fruit to equip if you're very low on health and need to run away from a battle. Imagine if you're 1 HP. Does that mean you're faster than the light fruit? I guess we'll never know. Next up, we got the control fruit. And there's a lot of cool facts I can tell you guys about this fruit. But the coolest one I found is that you can send boats flying while you're sitting on them. This might be patched now, but you could do it at some point. Next up, we got the spirit fruit. And comparing this to its One Piece version, it's actually slightly different. In One Piece, the owner of the spirit fruit can actually give a soul to anything that's non-living, which would be extremely overpowered in this game. Imagine you could give life to anything that you can pick up with the control fruit. It would be way too overpowered. Next up, we got the dragon fruit. And this is something I actually did not know for a while. You can change the color of the transformation. All you have to do is equip your dragon fruit, head over to the first sea, and specifically in Skylands, you see these rings here, and fly through them. It actually completely changes the color. There's some colors only admins can get, and the pink dragon is only available to Rip Indra. Next fruit we got here is the leopard fruit. And the cool fact about this this fruit is it actually does damage upon transformation. You see how the leopard roars when you transform? Well, that roar actually does a bit of damage. And there's not much practical use to this really. I guess it's just a cool fact to know because there's no way you're going to be using this in a PvP. Next up, we got the kitsune fruit. And the fact about this fruit was actually formerly held by the leopard fruit. And that's being the most expensive fruit in the whole game. The leopard fruit used to be the most expensive, coming in at 5 million belly. But when the kitsune come out, the devs decided to give it a price tag of 8 million. That is a lot of belly. And that's it for the facts. Okay, so the very first mistake that people make is not doing your quest the correct way. And I'm also guilty of this because I was also doing this mistake when I first started playing the game. And your goal by doing these quests is basically to just get XP as fast as possible. And everyone knows that higher level quests obviously give you more XP, but are even more dangerous and harder to complete. So sometimes it might be better to do lower level quests because some quest NPCs are grouped up next to each other. And this basically makes it way easier to finish the quest because you can literally just round them up and hit them with a bunch of area of damage attacks. And a great example of this is in the first sea. And obviously this isn't just for the specific island. There are literally many islands in every single sea in the game, including the third sea. When you look right over here at the pirate village, you're going to notice that there's pirates right in front of this quest giver. And they're very, very close to the quest giver. And they also spawn right next to each other. And then the second quest for this island are the brutes that are all the way back here, super far away from the quest giver. And they literally spawn super far apart from each other, which makes them pretty hard to round up. So it'll be a lot easier if you just kept doing the pirates quest until you were high enough level to head over to the next island. So make sure you're doing your quest properly if you want to stay efficient and get to max level as fast as possible. Moving on to something that's a bit more third sea specific, I got the Phoenix and Doe raid. And everyone knows that you unlock these raids in the third sea because you get access to a special scientist that gives you the raids. But you also need to do a long tedious quest, and I do not really recommend doing this because you've literally just entered the third sea and your level is very, very far away from max. So what I recommend doing is grinding a little bit so you're high enough level to take on these quests, because everyone knows that these are some of the most difficult raids in the game, and the Doe raid especially is probably the hardest. And the only situation where I recommend doing the raid is if you have 3 friends that are all max level to carry you. I can make that pretty easy, but it also depends on their stats and build. Moving on to the next mistake I got here is grinding with a bad fruit. In this game there are 2 types of fruits. There are PvP fruits and there are grinding fruits. And if you're in the third sea, it literally might be too late, because this is honestly a mistake that a lot of beginner players make as well. And you might be making this mistake right now if you don't know what type of fruit you're using. PvP fruits are literally just meant for PvP. As the name suggests, they're better for player versus player battles. Stuff like 1v1s or maybe even a 1v1v1. They still work against NPCs obviously, but the way that the fruits work make it a little bit harder to grind with them. And a great example of this is the Doe fruit. The Doe fruit is literally unmatched in PvP potential. One of the most powerful abilities of the Doe fruit locks your enemy in place and pummels them to death. You can use this for grinding, but when you're grinding NPCs, there's going to be a lot of them, not just one. That's why this ability in specific is just better for players, because you're only fighting against one player most of the time. On the other hand, we got a fruit like the Buddha fruit, which lets you hit enemies from super far away, which isn't really that insane for PvP. I mean, it's pretty average, but when you take it to grinding, it's literally the most overpowered thing ever. And the reason for that is your enemies literally cannot hit you, but you can hit them, because the range that you can hit enemies gets times by 8 when you activate the Buddha transformation, and you don't even need to have the fruit upgraded for this. That's how overpowered it is. So if you're in the third sea and still using a PvP fruit, make sure you switch over as fast as possible. And speaking about the Buddha fruit, the next trick I'm going to be telling you all about it. If you have access to the Buddha fruit, make sure you're grinding with this, because for the reasons I mentioned before, it is very, very overpowered. And I recommend waiting for it to get in stock, because it's definitely the easiest fruit to grind with. The Buddha fruit costs a total of 1,200,000 belly, or 1,650 Robux from the Blox fruit dealer. It also does have an awakening, but if you're looking to reach max level, then I don't really recommend doing this. The only ability you can maybe benefit from is the movement ability, which you need a total of 2,500 fragments to awaken, because you also have to awaken the first move. And like I mentioned before, the moveset for the Buddha is completely useless. The only thing you're really looking for is the transformation to increase your range. Anyways, moving on, I'm going to be telling you about one of the most notorious fighting styles that you can find in the third sea, and that is the electric claw fighting style. And if you aren't using this, I don't know what you're doing. But the mistake in particular is not with this fighting style. It's actually the quest. When you do the quest to get the electric claw, you actually have to talk to an NPC called the previous hero, who's located next to the Logma boss at the floating turtle island. And that quest basically tells you to get to the mansion in under 30 seconds. But there's actually some ways that you can cheese this. You don't actually need to dash and run over there. The first way of cheesing it is by using the light fruit. And everyone knows that the light fruit is the fastest movement ability in the whole game. So that can get you to the mansion in literally a matter of seconds. The second way to cheese it is by using the portal fruit. And obviously you know what to do with that. You can literally just teleport to the mansion and finish it in 1 second. If you don't have both of those fruits, don't worry, I got you. You can simply just set your spawn at the mansion and teleport there as soon as you activate the quest. And boom, you have Electric Claw very easily. Moving on, I got another simple mistake that people make, and that is differentiating from Sharkman Karate and Electric Claw. Electric Claw is obviously rated higher than Sharkman Karate, so a lot of people would think to use that. But what if I told you that Sharkman Karate is actually better than Electric Claw when it comes to grinding? And the reason for that is that Sharkman Karate does not have a delay between its M1 attacks. And that is crucial for grinding because you can literally spam your M1 ability without any delay. And the Electric Claw would 100% be better than Sharkman Karate if it also did not have that delay. But unfortunately, it does not. Moving on, got a trick that's not only for the 3rd sea, but for every sea that's in the game. And that is people that grind bosses for boss drops, but those bosses are way higher level than them. The reason this is bad is because, well, you're gonna die to the boss, unless you're a pro at PvP, but most of you watching are pretty average players, just like myself, and you don't want to be fighting a boss that's double your level. Trust me, bosses are crazy, and they are incredibly difficult to beat, especially those that are a higher level than you. And there's actually no quest in the game which requires you to fight a boss that's way higher level than you, and the only time I recommend doing this is if it's a part of your normal quest. Moving on, I got something that everybody should unlock once they enter the 3rd sea, and I don't see a lot of people with this, including myself. I don't really have this yet. And that is the race awakening. For the first one, we got the human, the shark race, the rabbit, and angel race, and these are all the races you can spawn in as. We also got 2 other races that you can get in pretty unique ways. We got the ghoul race, which you can get by completing the ghoul quest, and you can get the cyborg race by completing the cyborg quest. Everyone knows that the race v4 is the final version of the race, so it is very, very overpowered, and you get your own exclusive abilities to your race. And if you want to find out what all those abilities are, go and watch my race tricks video. They did make the quest a little bit easier recently, so you can do it pretty much anytime. Moving on, got another mistake that a lot of people make, which relates back to the second mistake of this video, and that is not getting help on your raids. No matter what you do in this game, do not do your raids solo. It's way easier to complete the raid if you have a lot more people helping you, especially if those people are a higher level than you. And everyone knows that when you do a raid, you actually have to pay a certain amount of money or a certain fruit. And if you have like a team of 4 people helping you with your raids, that's going to save you a lot of money and a lot of fruits. And the other reason is that the raids are easier to complete. And if you're looking for any people to get help with in your raids, make sure you head over to my Discord server, the first link in the description. Moving on, I got another mistake that people make with the Buddha fruit, and it relates back to my 2 points from before, and that is leveling up your Buddha fruit. Like I mentioned before, you don't really need the fruit's level, and you don't even need to upgrade your fruit stat points when you have the Buddha fruit. And the only thing you're using it for is its transformation and its range. All the other abilities of the fruit are literally useless, and they're pretty terrible if you ask me. I've never seen someone PvP with the actual Buddha fruit's abilities. Moving on, I got another mistake that people that are new to the 3rd sea make, and that is unlocking God Human. Don't get me wrong, God Human is literally the most overpowered fighting style and the hardest fighting style to get in the whole game. But that's exactly why you shouldn't be doing it if you're new to the 1st sea. Like I mentioned in some of my previous videos, I only recommend getting God Human when you're completely done with the game, aka when you're max level. And the reason for that is it's very, very difficult to get. You literally need to pay 5 million belly to unlock it, as well as 5,000 fragments. You also need to pay 10 dragon scales, 20 fish tails, 10 mystic droplets, and 20 magma ore. And on top of that, you have to have a 400 mastery on Superhuman, Dead Step, Electric Claw, Sharkman Karate, and Dragon Talon. And guess what you need for each of those abilities? For Dead Step, you need a 300 mastery on Dark Step. For Electric Claw, you need a 300 mastery on Electric. For Sharkman Karate, you need a 300 mastery on Water Kung Fu. And for Dragon Talon, you need a 300 mastery on Dragon's Breath. Make sure if you're new to the 3rd sea, you're not wasting your time on something like this. But if you're done with the game, then I guess you can do whatever you want. In this video, I'm going to be telling you about the craziest tricks Blox Fruits has to offer. The very first one we got here is this Kitsune boat glitch. All you need is obviously the Kitsune fruit. Activate your transformation and then have a teammate sit on your back. And once you do that, spawn in a boat and then position yourself so your teammate sits in the front seat of the boat. And if you done the trick correctly and your teammate's sitting on that seat, and you or your teammate should be able to control the boat. I guess this one does have practical use because you can get to places faster, or you can just confuse some newer players. Anyways, this next trick is something pretty useful if you want to get your hands on some cash pretty easily. All you have to do is head over to the second sea and come to the raids area. But this trick has absolutely nothing to do with the raids. You see these igloos right here? Well, they aren't just for show. If you use the flashlight glitch and go inside them, then you're gonna notice that some of them actually have chests inside them. That's just free money, so if you're ever doing raids or in the area, you know where to go for free cash. Next trick we got here is something that's completely useful. If you haven't watched my accessories guide video, then this guy's gonna help you a lot. If you head over to the second sea, you're gonna notice an NPC right here called the Nerd NPC. He's this little guy with glasses, you can't miss him. If you wear an accessory and go talk to him, he's gonna tell you the stats of your accessory. Because for some reason, Blox doesn't tell you that by default. So now if you get an accessory and if you don't know if it's good or not, just head over to this NPC and talk to him. The next trick I got here is the fastest way to farm CBs. Everyone knows that CBs are some of the best sea monsters to farm, whether it's for belly or fragments. And if you manage to get 3 CBs to spawn in, then you can get a butt ton of money. And if you have double money, even better. But what is the most efficient way for farming them? A lot of you might think just using your normal dough fruit or your kitsune fruit is going to make it incredibly easy to farm, but that is not the best idea. First up, the ideal race you want to have to farm the CBs is Shark, and the reason for that is obviously because you're fighting someone in water, and when you're near water, Shark v4 is obviously the best choice. And if you do have the awakened version, you can also have the 80% vulnerability, which is going to make it incredibly easy to survive. And next up, the optimal fruit you want to have for this is Magma V2. And the reason for that is because when you use abilities of this fruit, it actually leaves behind these huge blobs. And these blobs do a butt ton of damage. And if those blobs are still on the sea beast after you shoot them, it's going to make it incredibly easy to damage it. And you'll be farming to max belly in no time. Next trick we got here is about the Dark Blade. But did you know that there's actually a different variant of the Dark Blade that exists in the game? If you head over to the graveyard at the second sea and you go over to this specific place at that island, you're going to notice the Rip Indra NPC. And no, this guy's not going to kill you like the other ones, but he's going to let you change the variant of your Dark Blade from green to white. I'm not really sure which one looks better, but I think I still prefer the default version. It looks way more like Mihawk's blade. Anyways, moving on, I got a pretty interesting fact here which makes no sense. If you head over to any lava that's on the map in Blox fruits and you drop your fruit on it, you're gonna notice that the fruit literally stays there, which doesn't make any sense because the fruit should be burning. But if you head over to the water and drop a fruit, well, the fruit is gone. You're never getting it back ever again. It's just a pretty interesting observation because, like, why is the lava not burning the fruit? Anyways, on to the next trick. Everyone knows about this Ice Admiral who's located at the second sea. Once you defeat him, you unlock a key which lets you unlock the Rengoku sword. But did you know that the Rengoku sword actually has a pretty significant value behind his name? A lot of you might not know this, but there's this anime out there called Demon Slayer. And one of the fan favorite characters from that show is called Rengoku. And the sword looks just like the sword he uses from the anime. And this is just a pretty cool reference because you'd think that Blox Fruits is only modeled after One Piece. Well, that isn't completely the case. Stuff like the Rengoku sword and also Flash Tip, it's actually not from One Piece. Flash Tip is an ability from Bleach, and it works just like it does in the anime. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, we got a pretty small thing that changed in Update 1. If you head over to the starter island on the first, you're gonna notice that the port looks completely different to what it did before. Before Update 20, it looked like this, and now it looks like this. It's a pretty big difference, and I definitely think the new version looks 10 times better, but the old one was more OGs. But if I was a new player to the game, I would definitely like the second version. Moving on, I'm gonna be telling you a pretty interesting fact you did not know about the Captain Elephant boss. Everyone knows that like 90% of the bosses in this game are actually modeled after One Piece characters. And that same rule applies to Captain Elephant. He's actually modeled after Jack, one of Kaido's henchmen. But did you know that this boss was actually not made completely accurately? Because if you watch the anime, you would know that Jack doesn't use any weapons called twin hooks. And that's what the Captain Elephant boss uses in the game. But they're still pretty cool weapons, I can't lie. Anyways, moving on, I'm going to be telling you about a very overpowered accessory for grinding. Especially if you're a Buddha grinder. And I'm obviously talking about the Ghoul Mask. This is a rare accessory and it gives you 500 energy, which is pretty cool. But that's not the reason this is good for Buddha grinding. The next reason is that it gives you a 10% life leech on all melee attacks against players and a 2.5% life leech against melee attack on NPC. What this means is that you heal back 2.5% of the damage you do when you're fighting against NPCs. And the best thing about this is it actually also gives you a 35+ movement speed. And everyone knows when you're using the Buddha fruit, that can help you a ton. You can get to your places much faster and it's going to make your farming a lot more efficient. Next thing I'm going to be telling you about is a pretty cool trick you can use when you're farming at the second sea, specifically at the curse ship. When you're doing the chef's quest at this particular end of the bridge, there's actually a secret chest in this area. If you walk into every single one of these lockers one by one, you're going to notice in the middle right here, there's going to be a chest. You won't really see it, but if you walk into it, you're just going to get a bunch of cash. I'm not really sure about the rarity of this chest, but it's still pretty good. If you're just farming here and have nothing better to do, then why not just collect this chest? Moving on to the next trick that I have here, it's about the rumble fruit, specifically the V ability. Everyone Everyone knows that the Rumble fruit has an awakening, just like a lot of other fruits in the game. But what if I told you that it's actually better to have the V ability of this fruit unawakened? 99% of the time in Blox fruits, the awakened ability is 10 times better than the unawakened. But for this specific ability, the awakened ability is actually worse. This is what the ability looks like. It's just a rip-off Spirit Bomb, but when you have the fruit awakened, you actually throw the Spirit Bomb a lot slower. So it takes a lot of time to reach the ground. But in the unawakened version, it goes extremely fast. It literally zips to the floor. And if you're fighting someone, what do you guys think will be more useful? An ability that's slower or faster? It doesn't matter how much damage the ability does if it's never going to hit your opponent. So I would say that the awakened ability is better when you're fighting against NPCs, but when you're PvPing against players, definitely use the unawakened version. Next up, we got another secret at the graveyard on the second sea. If you head over to these graves, you're actually going to see that there's a bunch of text on the graves, and this is all just random stuff that's written on them. I'm pretty sure that it's just inside jokes that the devs have, because they literally make no sense when you read them. And there's a lot of things like this in the game. This isn't the only one. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, I'm going to be telling you about the most simple combo in the whole game. And all you have to have for this is the ice fruit, and you don't even need to have it awakened. Everyone knows that combos in the game are usually incredibly difficult to do because most of them are actually one-shot. But this isn't a one-shot combo, but it's incredibly easy to do if you just have the fruit. All you have to do is activate the ice fruit's V ability, then the C ability, and finally the Z ability. That's literally all you need to do. You don't need any other fighting styles, guns, or anything else. You just need this one fruit. Heading back to accessories, I told you guys about the ghoul mask where it increases your player speed by 35%, but I got one that does a lot better. Introducing the pilot helmet. I don't know why it said introducing. This has literally been in the game for years. This is a rare accessory and gives you 130% more movement speed. If you combine that with the mink race, you're literally going to be light speed. It also does give you 10% health regeneration and 250 energy as well as 250 health, but the movement speed is crazy when it comes to this. It's literally the fastest accessory in the whole game. And the way you get it is farm the stone boss, who's the very first boss of the third sea. And I definitely recommend doing this if you are a Buddha user because it's going to make your life 10 times easier. You get to where you want to a lot faster. Next up, I got a pretty cool trick. It's not that practical, but it's still something cool you can do. If you head over to the floating turtle located on the third sea, then you go over to the turtle mansion. Did you know that you can actually go through the wall? Pretty interesting. Doesn't have that much practical use, but just look at this. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, I'm going to be telling you about a way to get a bunch of free diamond chests. If you head over to the cafe on the second sea and then set your spawn point there, once you spawn in, you just have to head up to Don Swan's mansion, head to this specific place, and behind this chair, you're going to notice a diamond chest. And this is actually the closest chest to any player spawn in the whole game, which makes it incredibly useful to server hop. So I definitely recommend doing that if you want to get your hands on some free cash extremely fast. And that's it. This is how you literally max out your swords overnight, and this is how you can get any fruit in the game for completely free. These are some of the most crazy tricks pros abuse that you don't. The very first trick I got here is going to show you how to max out your sword overnight, and there's actually two different ways to do it. The first way makes it incredibly easy, and the second way kind of works like mediumly well. But they're both really good tricks. The first way to do it is by using the Buddha fruit. Everyone knows about this Buddha glitch where you can make a sword completely huge. All you gotta do is switch off your transformation, and boom, just stand next to the spawn point of an enemy, leave an auto clicker overnight with your sword, and boom, your sword should be max level when you wake up. The second way is to just simply do it without an auto clicker, and for obvious reasons this does not work as efficiently as the Buddha version because obviously it's going to be a lot harder to hit the enemies. And another thing I forgot to mention is that make sure you have an elemental fruit activated while doing this so you don't actually take damage from the NPCs. And also make sure the NPCs have no hotkey because if they do, then they're obviously going to be able to hit you, and you don't want that happening. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about every single code in Blox fruits. A lot of you don't know about this because the codes get changed around quite a lot, and there's a butt ton of active codes in the game. The first code is reward fun, and this gives you double XP for 20 minutes. Then we got kit reset, which gives you a free stat reset. Then we got sub to official newbie, which gives you double XP for 20 minutes. Then we got Xori, which also gives you double XP for 20 minutes. Then we got big news, and you get the big news title for using this. Then we got Bloxy, and you also get 20 minutes of double XP for this. Then we got Chandler, and for this one you literally just get 0 belly. What a useless code. Then we got NU is pro, and this is also a double XP code. Then we got FUD 10. For this one you get 1 belly, pretty useless. Then we got FUD 10 V2. For this one you get 2 belly. But what are these codes? Then we got JCWK, and this one gets you double XP. And next up we got Kit Gaming, Magic Bus, Star Code Hero, Straw Hat Manny, sub to Captain Mai, sub to Dyrock, and sub to Fur999, which all give you double XP for 20 minutes. Then we got sub to Gamer Robot XP1. This gives you double XP for 30 minutes. Then we got sub to Gamer Robot Reset 1, which gives you a free stat reset. Then we got sub to Noob Master 123, which is a double XP coat. Then we got sub to Uncle Kizaru, which is actually the light admiral from One Piece, and this one gives you a free stat reset. Then we got Tantai Gaming, which gives you double XP, and we also got the Great Ace, which also gives you double XP. Damn, that is a lot of codes. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about a pretty simple server hop alternative that you can actually use the server hop better, and this is a pretty secret trick that I didn't know until recently. Everyone knows the normal way of server hopping. You literally just leave a server and join a new one, but a different way to do it is by actually blocking somebody in your Blox Fruits game, leaving Blox Fruits and joining back. This makes it so you have a 0% chance of joining back the same server, because according to the Roblox rules, you actually can't join a server with someone that you have blocked. Pretty useful trick. Next trick we got here is going to allow you to walk on water. A lot of you newer players, you might be thinking it's just the Magma V2 and the Ice Fruit that lets you walk on water, but there's a lot more, and two of the other most popular fruits that do this is the Dough Fruit and the Kitsune Fruit. For the Dough Fruit, all you have to do is unlock the roll or donut ability, and then you do have to awaken it, and that's going to make it so your donut can actually roll over water, which is pretty useful if you're using the Dough Fruit and you want to get from island to island. Next up, we got the Kitsune Fruit, which I don't think a lot of you guys have, but the transformed ability actually lets you walk on water. This is a pretty good passive ability for the transformation, and that's the reason a lot of you guys don't know about this. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about a really overpowered place that you can actually server hop to get a butt ton of belly and bounty. And I'm obviously talking about the prison. This is the literal only place in the whole game that has 3 bosses in the exact same location, which is really crazy. And since it's the first scene, they're literally glued to each other. I'm pretty sure they're like 10 meters apart from each other. All you have to do is simply head over here, accept the quest for these guys, and just farm them, I guess. And then you can actually server hop and do this multiple times. Next up, I'm going to be actually clearing a myth that a lot of you guys might believe to be true, and that is the fruit rolling myth. A lot of people think that it's actually easier to get better fruits when you roll them in the 3rd seed, but this is completely not the case. The game code does not have anything like this. You're going to actually have the exact same chance of getting a fruit. And I know this because there's been a ton of times where I was in the 1st seed and I got some crazy fruits like the light, magma, and shadow, and in the 3rd seed I've rolled like the kilo fruit, the spin fruit, and a bunch of other terrible ones. Anyways, moving on to the next trick. This is something about the Awakened Phoenix that a lot of you guys don't actually know. Did you know that the Awakened Phoenix actually has a passive ability? If you fly over enemies with the Awaken move, then you're actually going to notice that a bunch of your flames are actually going to be dripping under you. And this flame actually does a butt ton of passive damage. It's similar to one of the Smoke Fruits ability, the Smoke Bomber ability. And if you know how to use this correctly, you can actually end up multiplying your damage by a huge amount. Just make sure you're standing directly above an enemy when you're using this ability. Next up is another really useful trick I wish I knew when I started playing the game, and that is to save good fruits until you're done with the game. What do I mean by this? Well, a lot of you guys know there's some crazy fruits in the game like the Dragon Fruit, the Leopard Fruit, and the Dough Fruit, but these fruits aren't really that good for grinding. So if you get one early, just make sure you save it up in your inventory, use another fruit to grind like the Magma, Ice, or best of all, the Buddha Fruit. And once you reach max level, then you can end up switching to a fruit that you want, and the reason for this is because those popular fan favorite fruits aren't actually going to help you finish the game faster. The fastest way to complete the game is by using the Buddha Fruit or any other grinding fruit. So if you get a fruit, just make sure you save it. Next is a pretty weird glitch with the Barrier Fruit. If you use the stairs ability of this Barrier Fruit and you keep walking over it, then you actually go into your shop and switch to your fruit, the barrier stairs are completely gonna freeze, which is pretty interesting because then you can literally just camp in the sky, I guess. This next trick is for you newer players out here. A lot of you guys might not be knowing about this, and even if you're an experienced player, there's some pretty cool things about this that you might not know. And I'm obviously talking about Aura, aka Hockey. It's an ability that you can get from the ability teacher for 25 belly. That is a cheap price for how good this ability is. And basically what it lets you do is actually lets you hit NPCs and players that have an elemental fruit. And that's not the only thing it does. It also gives you damage multipliers. It also reduces the percentage of damage that you take in stage 0 and increases your damage for non-fruit attacks by 10%. Next up, we got stage 1. So you need 4000 XP to reach the stage, and it buffs your non-fruit attacks by 21%. Then we got stage 2, and for this stage you need 12,000 XP. This decreases all the damage that you're meant to take by 10%, so you're only going to be taking 90% of the damage you actually receive. Next up, we got stage 3, and for this it decreases the damage you're meant to take by 18%, which is pretty good, and you need 24,000 XP to get to this stage. Then we got stage 4, and for this one it covers your full arms, torso, head, and your upper legs. It reduces the damage you take by 25%, and you need 48,000 XP to get this. Next up, we got stage 5, and this is full body hockey. You need 60,000 XP to get this, and it decreases the damage you take by a whopping 30%. You literally have an extra layer of armor. It's better than any accessory that you can get in the whole game. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about an incredibly good fruit spawn location that you should definitely be looking out for. And I'm talking about the Marine Fortress location. And this specific spot that you want to come over to is right here where the fruit spawns, underneath the tree behind the stair. Fruits tend to spawn here a lot more often often than other spawn locations, so what I recommend you do is set your spawn point on this island and just server hop for hours on end. And once you do that, you should be able to get any fruit that you want, / any fruit that spawns there. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about a pretty secret fruit that you did not know existed. And the reason it's so secret is because you literally can't obtain it. Only admins or people that are friends with the admins that can get this. And this is the meme fruit. And it literally just looks like a traffic cone. The only thing it does is let you place down traffic cones, and this basically just does damage to players you're allied with. And that's why it's called the meme fruit. It's just a great way to annoy people. It literally has infinite damage, so it literally insta-kills any teammate that walks into it. Next up, I'm going to be telling you something about the Forgotten Island, which is located at the second sea. And a lot of you might not know this, but this is actually Kaido's lair from One Piece. And this is where the final battle between Luffy and Kaido happened. It was actually on the top of this island. And the real boss of this island was actually not meant to be the Tidekeeper. I think it was actually meant to be Kaido. But I do have a theory that once the Dragon Fruit gets reworked, they're actually going to switch out the Tidekeeper for Kaido, who has the Dragon Fruit, because we don't yet have a Dragon boss in the game. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about a secret accessory that you can't really get anymore, and this is the DS Code accessory. It increases your energy by 200 and your health by 200, and it also gives you a 5% damage increase for all your attacks. And it also has an incredibly secret custom ability that is completely broken, and that's the reason only admins can use this. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about this dash hit method that's going to guarantee that you don't take any damage from NPCs that you're fighting. Keep in mind, this will not work on players because, well, you'll see. The dash hit method is pretty self-explanatory. You literally just hit your enemy and dash away before they can do any damage to you. It does take some time to master, but if you do it correctly, then you should be able to fight enemies without taking a single hit of damage. And obviously this doesn't work on all the NPCs because how some of their abilities work, but it should work on most of them. Next up, I'm going to be telling you a way to complete raid bosses, raids, and literally anything that requires other people a lot faster. And that is to use Discord. All you have to do is join the official Blox Fruits Discord or my server and literally just ask for anybody to help you. And usually people in the servers are pretty nice, so they're going to be helping you. And it's also of mutual interest. Say you want to awaken your ice fruit, but you don't have anyone to do it with. You can literally just go to the Blox Fruit server and search for someone that also needs to awaken their ice fruit. That way you can do it much easier. Next up is a really important trick that you must know, and that is trading. What I mean by this is you need to know the values of each fruit. And for this, I recommend searching up a tier list that any pro player has made. And if you want me to do a tier list, make sure you comment below. Basically, knowing the value of each fruit is going to let you know exactly what you need to trade for. This makes it so you can't get scammed at all. And just to show you how OP trading is, you can literally get stuff like game passes, stuff that you need to pay Robux for, you can get for completely free if you know what you're doing. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about observation hockey. A lot of you know about this and how to get it, but did you know that you can actually get it a lot earlier than you're supposed to? All you need to be is level 300. You don't actually need to wait till you get the upper sky because you're literally going to be like level 600 by that point. It's such a huge waste of time. Once you get to level 300, all you have to do is complete the annoying jungle quest, defeat the saber expert, and get the saber sword. Once you do this, you can actually prove to the observation hockey master that you're actually worthy to learn it. And then all you have to do is head over to him and equip the ability. And that's it. In this video, I'm going to be telling you about every single NPC you missed in the first sea, and I'm going to be going from the ones that are super easy to find to the ones that you 100% missed. Starting off with the boat dealer. I'm pretty sure everybody already knows this NPC, but for the people that don't, well, he basically just lets you spawn in boats. First one is the dinghy, which is free. The second one is the sloop, which costs 300 belly. The third one is the brigade, which costs 1000 belly. And the fourth one is the grand brigade. And the very first island you can see this guy on when you join the game is the starter island, or the marine starter island, depending on which team you pick. Next up, we got the luxury boat dealer. Most people should already know about this, but if you're newer to the game, this is how he works. You basically have to buy the faster boats game pass to use him, or else you literally just can't. He won't even let you talk to him. And the boats this guy gives you are obviously way better than the normal guy. The first one is the Guardian, which is a pretty decent ship. The second one is the Lantern, which you can buy from an NPC in the second sea. The third one is the Slay, which you only get during winter events. The next one is the Beast Hunter, and this is very good for ship raids. And this is very good for sea events. Next up, I got the Blox Fruit dealer. This is probably the most popular NPC in the whole of Blox Fruits, and you should definitely know about this guy. The first island you see him on is the Pirate Star Island, but he's found on many other islands, including the Marine Star Island, Middletown, Kingdom of Rose, the Cafe, Mansion, and Port Town. And this guy, he works pretty simple. He's literally just a guy that sells your fruits, but he won't always have them in stock, and the stock changes every while. But there is a rule that he has to have at least 3 fruits in stock, because if he doesn't, then the game's just glitched out, I guess. Anyways, moving on from that, we got the sword dealer, and this is the very first weapons dealer in the whole game. As the name suggests, he just sells you swords. He's located at the starter island for the Marines and for the pirates. He basically just lets you buy 2 different swords, which both cost 1000 belly. Those swords are the katana and the cutlass, and they have the exact same abilities. The only difference is that they look slightly different. That's literally it. And I'm pretty sure you can't miss this guy, and I definitely recommend buying a sword from him as soon as you start the game. But those swords are literally the worst swords in the whole game, so make sure you upgrade when you get the chance. Next up on the Pirate Starter Island, we got the Marine Recruiter. What this guy lets you do is basically switch your team into a Marine. So if you're a pirate, then you can become a Marine. Now we're going to move on to the Marine Starter Island. And at this island, you have all the NPCs that I mentioned before, except the Marine Recruiter. Here he's the Pirate Recruiter, because most people on the Marine Island are actually going to be Marines, so this lets you join the Pirates team without having to rejoin the whole game. And we also got a bonus NPC for the Marine, who's called the Marine's Boat Dealer. This is an NPC that's equivalent to the Boat Dealer, and this allows both Marines and Pirates to buy Marine boats. But except the Marine versions of the boat are 50% cheaper, because that's one of the huge buffs of choosing that team. And this Boat Dealer only exists on 2 islands. The first one is obviously the Marine Starter, and the other one exists at Marine Fortress, because that's basically a Marine base. But you do have to do some searching to find these guys, because they're actually not located at the port. Moving on to the Middletown Island, the first NPC here is the Experienced Captain, and if you're new to the first, you don't need to worry about this guy for a while, because this is how you get into the second sea. But you do have to do a long quest for that. And once you actually do unlock a way to get to the second sea, this is the guy you're going to be talking to every time you want to get back and forth from the seas. He's even located in the second sea at spawn to help you come back to the first sea. Next NPC we got located at Middletown is Robot Mega. This guy's located in a house which has a green roof over its head, which you can actually walk into. And when you first talk to this guy, he might seem like a bit of an NPC, but he actually helps you achieve Darkblade V2. And the name of the quest you get from him is the Sun Quest. Moving on to the next NPC, we actually got another weapons dealer located at Middletown. And this guy's name is Weapons Dealer. And he sells you 3 different guns. And everyone knows guns are useless, so you mostly don't want to be talking to this guy. The very first gun he sells you is the Slingshot, which costs 5,000 belly. Next up, we got the Musket for 8,000 belly. And the third one is the Flintlock for 10,500 belly. And if you want to buy any gun from this guy, I recommend the Slingshot because it's going to help you gather up enemies. Moving on to the Jungle Island, the first and only NPC that you're going to be worried about on this island is the Blox Fruit Gacha. This NPC is probably one of the most useful NPCs in the whole game, and he basically just lets you roll a random fruit. But you do have to be at least level 50 to use this guy, and the amount of money it takes to roll a fruit depends on your level. If you're level 50, then you only need to pay 32,000 belly to roll a fruit, but if you're the max level, which is 2,550, you have to pay 400,000 belly to roll a fruit, which makes this incredibly expensive if you're a higher level. And this guy's not only located in the first sea, he's also located at the second sea and the third sea. And a pretty cool thing about this NPC is that it wasn't actually meant to stay in the game. It was added during a winter update, but the community loved it so much that they decided to keep it in the game. Moving on to the next NPC, he's located at the Pirate Village, and this is the Sword Dealer of the West. He sells you 2 different guns, which are the Dual Katana, which costs 12,000 belly, which is literally just 2 katanas, and the next one is the Iron Mace, which costs 25,000 belly. Next NPC on this island, and this is actually the first fighting style that you can buy in the whole game, and he's basically located around this area right here. He sells you the fighting style for 150,000 belly. And the cool thing about this fighting style is that you actually kick instead of use your hand. Moving on to the next NPC we got here is the Blacksmith, and this guy basically just helps you upgrade your weapons to grade 2. And this is something you definitely have to do before you're able to enchant your weapons. So this is a very crucial NPC, and I don't actually see a lot of people talking about this guy. The next NPC who's located on this island is the Rich Man. And this is actually a guy that's going to help you complete the Saber Expert puzzle, which is actually a pretty annoying puzzle to do if you don't know what you're doing. But you don't need to worry about that now. It's the only thing this basically helps you with is getting the Saber Sword and Instinct, which are 2 crucial abilities in the game. But you do need a level requirement before you can get them. Moving on to the Desert Island, we got our first very hidden NPC, and this guy's incredibly difficult to find if you don't know where to look. His name is Hassan, and he sells you the Swordsman hat for 150,000 belly. And to talk to this guy, you actually need to have Flash Step, Aura, and Air Jump, and at least 300 stat points on your sword, or else he will not sell this to you. Basically, you just have to collect the chest that's located right here, and then go down this long tunnel, and boom, that's exactly where he is. See, I told you he would be hard to find. Moving on to the next NPC, we got the Abilities Teacher, and this is one of the most important NPC in the whole of Blox Fruits. And he's actually modeled after Rayleigh from One Piece. And the most important ability that this guy sells you is the Aura ability, which is basically called Hockey by the community, because that's what it's called in One Piece. This ability costs a total of 25,000 belly, and it basically just gives you a shield of armor, and it's incredibly important if you want to be able to hit people that have elemental fruits. And he also sells you air jumps, which basically just let you jump more in one place, and it's an incredibly useful ability. Next, we got the Flash Step ability, which is taken from Bleach, and this basically just lets you teleport short distances. And in my opinion, the most important abilities from this guy is the air jump ability, because it lets you get to places that you couldn't before, and then obviously the hockey. You can't forget about it. And next up, we got an NPC who's located at the very same island, and this is also a weapons dealer NPC, and he's called Sword Dealer of the East. And just like his name suggests, he sells you 2 different swords. The first one is the Triple Katana for 60,000 belly, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just 3 different katanas. Next up, we got the Pipe, which costs 100,000 belly. and since it costs more than the triple katana, you already know it's better. And if you're wondering where he's located, it's basically right next to this house right here. Next NPC we got on this list is Porus, and he sells you the black cape accessory for 50,000 belly. But you do have to be at least level 50 to purchase it, and it's a pretty decent accessory for the first sea. And if you're wondering where this guy is located, he's actually very hidden, just like the Hassan NPC from before. You have to head over to Marine Fortress, get over to this tower, and go down this ladder. Pretty interesting place to hide. Next up we got the advanced weapons dealer, who's also located at Marine Fortress. And this guy sells you a total of 3 guns, which are just better versions of the ones you find in Middletown. First up we got the refined slingshot, which costs a total of 30,000 belly. And next up we got the refined flintlock, which costs 65,000 belly. And finally we got the cannon, which costs 100,000 belly, and since it costs the most, you already know it's the most powerful gun here. Moving on to Skylands, the very first NPC that's hidden here is the mad scientist. I guarantee you did not find him when you were playing the game normally. That's because he's not actually located at Skylands, he's located at this rock near it. If you come and talk to this guy, he's gonna sell you the electric fighting style for 500,000 belly, and I definitely recommend getting your hands on this because you can upgrade it to electric claw later, which is one of the best fighting styles in the whole game. Next up we got the Yoshi NPC, who's also located at Skylands, and this guy is also pretty difficult to find because he's located at this tower over here. And when most people get to Skylands, they don't even have sky jump, so they wouldn't even know to check this place. And this guy sells you the Tomoe ring accessory that gives you 10% more Blox fruit damage, and the requirements for this is at least 200 stat points on your melee. And this accessory costs a total of 500,000 belly. And do I recommend this? Not really. There's better things to spend your money on. Maybe save up for a fruit you want. Next up we got the Master Swords dealer, who's located at the top of Skylands, and this guy sells you 2 different swords. The first one is the dual-headed blade, which costs 400,000 belly, and the second one is the Bicento, which costs 1 million belly. Pretty pricey. And you can actually upgrade your Bicento by killing the Greybeard boss with the Bicento. And I also advise you guys not to buy the dual-headed blade because it is terrible for grinding and PvP. Anyways, moving on, we got another very hidden NPC, but this guy is incredibly useless in my opinion. This guy is the remove Blox fruit NPC, and he can be found at the back of the prison on the first sea. And when you talk to him, he's literally just going to give you 2 options, sure and shut up. And if you click on sure, he's going to give you the option to remove the Blox fruit that you actually have equipped in, which is a pretty weird thing to do if you ask me. But if you really want to have the ability to swim over having a Blox fruit, then you do you. It costs a total of 50,000 belly, and that's another reason I don't recommend doing this, because you're losing money and a fruit. Who would want to do that? And while you're at the prison, you're actually going to notice this other NPC who's called a military detective. And you don't really need to worry about this guy right now because he's an NPC that gives you a quest to get into the second sea. Once you're at least level 700, which is basically finishing the first sea, you come talk to this guy and he tells you to do a bunch of stuff to get into the second sea. But if you're a fairly new player or visiting the prison for the first time, then you don't really need to worry about this guy. Next NPC that's incredibly hidden is the living skeleton NPC. You literally will not be able to find this guy without help. He's located at the Magma Village, and you actually are going to notice no matter where you search, you're not going to find him. That's because he's actually located behind an invisible wall, which you can literally just walk directly through. And once you do that and talk to him, he's going to sell you the Soul Cane sword that costs a total of 750,000 belly. And this is the same sword that Brook from One Piece uses. It's pretty cool. And the sword itself isn't even that bad. Moving on, we got another secret NPC that you definitely did not find, and it's the same reason for the previous one. This is the Water Kung Fu teacher, and he's located at Underwater City. If you head right down here, you're going to notice you're not going to find him at all, but you have to go through this wall right here. And boom, once you talk to him, he's going to sell you Water Kung Fu for a total of 750,000 belly. And I definitely recommend getting your hands on this because it's literally the best fighting style in the whole of the first year and one of the best fighting styles to grind with regardless. Moving on to the next NPC that you definitely missed is the Instinct teacher. This guy's located at Upper Skylands, and he basically just teaches you instincts / observation hockey, which is literally one of the most important abilities in the whole game. It costs a total of 750,000 belly to buy from this guy, but you do have to complete the Saber Expert quest from him. And don't wait till you get to Skylands to talk to this guy. You can literally access him at level 300 by doing the quest first. You can literally talk to him early by doing the Saber Expert quest at literally just level 300. So make sure you get your hands on this before you leave the first sea. And that's it for the NPCs. This is how you get into the Awakenings room without actually completing a raid. And this is how you get into the factory before the raid even starts. These are some of the craziest Blox fruits hidden locations that you will never find. Okay, so the very first secret area that you can get into is located on the first sea. This is actually kind of interesting because if you're already in the second sea, then you've actually been to this area before. But this is a way to re-enter that area because you're actually not able to do this without glitches, obviously. And the place I'm talking about is where the Ice Admiral is located. Most people know that when you do the quest to get into the second sea, the final thing that you have to do is defeat this this NPC called the Ice Admiral, and he's located underneath the frozen village behind these doors. And when you do the quest, you actually get a special key that you can use to open this wooden door. But if you actually don't have that key, then there's no normal way to get inside, unless you obviously use the flash step glitch. All you have to do is turn your character to face a certain way, and boom, you can glitch to the door. And once you get in here, you can actually fight the Ice Admiral for the second time, and it isn't really a fair fight because you can't actually do damage to him. And I think the devs made it like this to make it so that people that have already defeated this boss don't defeat it again. And also, it would be kind of an unfair fight if a third C player just pulled up here and just destroyed the boss in one hit. And there's no practical use to this glitch unless you just want to die, I guess. So let's move on to the next one. The next glitch we got here is actually kind of useful, and that is a way to get into the Awakenings place. Everyone knows that after you complete a raid in Blox fruits, you actually get teleported to this specific room if you have the fruit equipped that you wanted to awaken, and it's going to let you awaken an ability. But did you know that there's actually a way to get into this room without doing a raid or completing anything? You can literally just get into this room for free, and the way you do that is by coming to this very specific spot on the second C and basically using the same flash step glitch again. And once you do that, you should be able to see a weird looking box over here. All you have to do is start dashing over to it. This glitch works well if you have the awakened magma fruit or the ice fruit, so you can walk on water, but holding spacebar also works. But that way you're gonna end up taking a bit of damage. Anyways, once you get over to this box, you should find a place that you can stand on, or if you're a pro, you can just jump and use the flash step glitch. Once you do that, boom, you should be teleported inside the box. And when you talk to the NPC, it actually does not let you awaken your fruit because that would be way too overpowered. And I'm pretty sure the devs already expected players to do this. Next secret area I got for you guys is also located on the second sea, and it's not too far from this area. Everyone knows about the factory on the second sea. The factory raid is a very popular raid in the second sea, and the reason for that is because you have a chance of getting that Sidham rifle, one of the best guns in the whole game. And the way you win a factory raid is by dealing the most damage to the core. And for that, obviously you need more time. But every player in the factory raid actually gets an equal amount of time. Well, what if I told you that wasn't the case? There's actually a way to get into the factory before the raid even starts, and you guessed it, it's by using the exact same flash step glitch from before. All you have to do is walk over to the entrance, turn your camera, and boom, you can flash step inside. This is gonna let you get a head start before all those other players. Well, it's only like a 2-second head start, but a head start's a head start. And if there's a lot of players, every second matters. Moving on, we're going back to the first sea for this next secret place, and this is located at the Magma Village. I'm pretty sure 90% of you guys watching this video have already been to the Magma Village, but did you know about this secret location here? And no, I'm not talking about the volcano itself. You can't really miss that. But if you walk over to the side of the volcano over here, there's actually a place that you can walk into. It's literally like an intangible rock. And once you walk inside, you're gonna see this living skeleton NPC. And if you talk to him, he's gonna sell you the soul cane. And I'm pretty sure the skeleton is meant to be just like Brook from One Piece, and even uses the same sword, so that's pretty cool. Next secret location I got for you guys is back in the second sea, and I'm talking about the cursed ship. Everyone knows about the cursed ship. It's literally the ship. It's located right next to this island over here, and it's a big part of the quest for the second sea. But did you know that the ship is actually not in the ship? Once you walk into the entrance of the ship, it actually teleports you very, very far away. You can actually get to that area from boat. In the place you spawn in from the second sea, if you turn around and just drive a boat straight, you're gonna end up seeing this huge area, and that's where the ship is actually located. And you can also get to this area if you simply walk into the ship the normal way and flash the glitch outside it. But make sure you don't walk around too much because the red area actually damages you, and you can't really stand here for too long. But there's a cheeky way to get past this. You can simply hold down an ability. The secret area does not have much use, but it's still a pretty cool Easter egg. Moving on, I got another place in the second sea. Everyone knows about the raids area. It's located at this huge building over here. But did you know that there's a second area that you can actually do raids, and it's located all the way over here at this mountain. Once you get up here, you're gonna be wondering, how do I enter this place? Well, you have to walk to this specific located right here, and boom, once you walk in there, you find a different raid place. I guess you can use this if the server is completely full and people are already using raids. I'm not really sure where they added this. It's kind of impractical, but the more you know, the better, I guess. Moving on, we got yet another super secret place located in the second sea, and this is located at the cafe, the center of all areas. To access this place, all you have to do is walk to the cafe, collect this chest here, and walk down the secret ladder. And no, this is not the secret place. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that. Anyways, once you walk down and you have to turn left, go to the Awakenings expert. And no, you don't really need to talk to him. You see this door here? Basically, you have to position your camera and use the flash step glitch one more time. Once you do that, you're gonna be teleported into a secret room. This is known as the Wedlock Toad room, because if you look at the sign over here, it's gonna say something about Wedlock Toad, but I can't read the rest of it. And this room is pretty interesting, I guess. There's like a bed, there's a bunch of stuff falling down, we got carpets, and it's also a green theme. because, I mean, it's themed after a frog, so I guess that makes sense. Moving on, we're going back to the first sea, and this is the temple area. Everyone knows about this temple. If you were at Upper Sky in the first sea, you should know about this temple. But did you know that there's actually a secret way to get inside the temple? When you're at the bottom of the temple and you walk down into this area, you're going to notice that there's walls blocking your way. But there's actually a way to break these walls. And all you have to do for that is use a special type of ability that can break objects. And I'm pretty sure every fighting style slash fruit in the game at least has one of these abilities. Once you do that, boom, the block is going to break and you can head inside the temple. And you might be wondering what's in the temple. But before I tell you that, I'm going to tell you guys another way you can get inside. And that's by using the flash step glitch. So if you don't want to waste your time using an ability, you can simply just use the flash step glitch. Now, this glitch really is overpowered. Like, half the secret areas in this list are accessible with the flash step glitch. But anyways, once you head inside the temple, you're going to notice a total of 8 chests. And these chests give you a lot of coins, and I recommend server hopping these chests. And it's something I mentioned in one of my first videos, like literally over a year ago. And this place is very, very useful to server hop, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know how to do that. You can get a lot of coins and max out easily with this method. Moving on, we got a secret place located in the underwater city, also on the first sea. If you head to the underwater city, you're going to notice that there's actually barriers blocking you from entering the water. But if you actually equip the ice fruit or the awakened magma fruit and you head to the specific part of this barrier, you actually notice you can slip through this barrier. And once you do that, you can just keep walking. And I'm not really sure where this goes, but if you get walking, I'm pretty sure you should get close to the main sea, because Fishman Island, just like the cursed ship from before, is not actually located where it seems to be. It's very, very far away from the first sea. Moving on, we got another secret location at Skylands. And this is actually a part of the quest to upgrade the Dark Blade. But no normal player has access to the Dark Blade, so I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. If you walk to this specific house right here and flash step glitch inside, you should notice a love letter on the floor. And once you pick it up, you actually won't be able to read it, because the only way you can read it is if you're actually doing the quest to upgrade the Dark Blade. And once you end up upgrading your Dark Blade, you can actually change its color from bright green to bright white. And that looks very, very cool, but I think I still prefer the green version better. Moving on, we got another glitch in the first sea, and this one is located at the jungle. Most of you guys watching should know about the Saber Expert boss and the way to defeat him, because you literally need it for observation. But there's actually a way to start fighting this boss without doing that quest. The quest is very long and tedious, so you have to go through a bunch of puzzles back and forth to defeat the mob leader and a bunch of other boring stuff. And you might be wondering, what is that way to actually start fighting this boss without doing the quest? And I'm pretty sure like 95% of you guys watching should have already guessed this. And yes, it's using the flash step glitch. You literally just flash step glitch inside and boom, you can start fighting him. But be careful if you're low level, because this boss is very, very overpowered for the first sea. And if you don't have your health upgraded enough, you will end up dying very fast. Moving on, we're going to be talking about a secret area with the awakened Ice Admiral's castle. Everyone knows this place is located at the second sea. And this secret is actually a 2-for-1. One secret area at this awakened Ice Admiral's mansion is that after you defeat him, you actually have a chance of getting a key, which you can use to open this secret door over here, which you can use to get under the steps and get the Rengoku sword. But that's not the main part of this glitch. You see all these doors around here? Well, you literally can't enter like 99% of them. But what if I told you there's a way to get inside? And yup, it's using the flash step glitch. Once you glitch inside this place, you're going to access a pretty weird and glitched out area. And I don't think the devs wanted you to see this place. Once you get inside, it just looks really weird. There's a bunch of walls, and I guess you can go up here and back down, but this place has no real practical use. It's just pretty cool to see. Moving on, we got another first sea glitch, and this is located at Middletown. Everyone knows that there's a lot of houses at Middletown, but what if I told you one of them literally has an intangible door, so you can literally enter the building? You have to walk over to the specific house that's located right here, and boom, you can literally just walk inside. And once you walk inside, you're gonna find a bunch of weird stuff like football cards, a bunch of random stuff on the floor, and 2 important NPCs. One of them is Robot Mega, which you use for the Dark Blade V2 quest, and the other one is the Aura Editor, so you can literally change the color of your hockey whenever you want. Next secret location we got is located in the second sea, and this has to do with the Swan boss and the Jeremy boss. And a pretty interesting thing that you guys might have not known is that these bosses are literally located above and below each other. When you do the quest to get into the third sea, you have to defeat the Swan boss, and the way you do that is by getting to his mansion and walking inside the specific door right here. Once you do that, you're actually going to be teleported to a different location, and if you actually end up glitching outside this box, you're going to notice that you're actually inside a mountain, and if you end up glitching outside that mountain, you're going to be exactly at the place where the Jeremy boss spawns. Pretty cool Easter egg, and this place actually looks a bit weird as well. So the next Easter egg is actually another 2-for-1, and it's located at the place where you get your Race V3 quest. Once you head into this mountain, which is actually a very secret area, which you can get to through an invisible door. Once you access this area, there's going to be an NPC here called the Doghouse, and many of you guys did not know about this guy. He literally just sells your kilo fruit for 94 Robux, and I shouldn't have to mention this, but that is not a very good deal. And the second cool thing located at this area is yet another glitch space. If you position your camera like this and TP through this area, you should be inside the mountain, and this is a very, very open and pretty cool looking place. I can't lie, this is an amazing area to have a 1v1. So if you want to fight against your friends, you know where to do it in secret. This is how you max out your hockey overnight, and this is how you farm NPCs 10 times more efficiently. These are some illegal Blox Fruits tricks that you must know. The very first trick that we got here is how to take absolutely zero damage in lava. And everyone knows that it can be very annoying dying to lava wherever you may find it, in the second sea or in raids. And this trick is going to help you take absolutely no damage to it. And it's extremely simple to do, probably the easiest trick on this whole list. All you have to do is simply stand still. And you might be thinking, what the heck, if I stand still to the lava, I'll just die. Well, here's a pretty cool fact that you might have not known. According to the way Blox Fruits is coded, you actually take no damage from lava if you don't move on it. The damage only registers when you move around, which is pretty weird, but I guess that's the way to take no damage. Moving on to the next ability, it's going to be specifically about the light fruit. Everyone knows that you can awaken the light fruit, and the first ability of the awakened light fruit might not seem that good at first sight. It's this pretty cool bow ability where you charge up a bow and shoot it. But did you know that if you actually hold down the ability key, you won't shoot one arrow, not 2 arrows, but you will be shooting 3 whole arrows. This is a pretty straightforward trick because most abilities in Blox Fruits can be held down to do better, but if you didn't know this, well, now you know. Alright, next thing I'm going to be telling you guys about is the spawn protection in this game. Everyone knows how it works. There's 2 different types of spawn protection. The first is every player that's under a certain level cannot take damage from anyone regarding PvP. You can obviously still take damage from NPCs because if you couldn't, then what would be the point of starting the game? But the reason the Blox Fruits devs added this damage protection is because back in the day when new players spawned in, it would be extremely difficult for them to level up because they would start getting killed by players that are like 10 times their level. And everyone knows spawn killing can be one of the most annoying things in the whole game. There's actually 2 main islands in the first sea where you cannot take any damage. That is the Marine Starter and the Pirate Starter Island. And for obvious reasons, those are the islands with protection because they're the very first islands of the whole game. The next way to take no damage from PvP is obviously by just turning off your PvP. It's very simple to do. You just click right here and boom, you've done it. Next is a pretty cool Easter egg that doesn't have much meaning, but it's a pretty cool reference. If you head over to the cafe on the second sea and climb up the wall using any ability of your choice, and you look right over here, you're actually going to notice this text which has like its opacity on like 1%, so you can barely even see it. And this text says it's real. That's literally all it says, but I'm pretty sure this is in reference to the very popular One Piece is real. And if you haven't seen that meme, this is what it is.
The One Piece! The One Piece is real! Can we get much higher?
That was pretty funny. Anyways, the next trick I got for you guys here is about the height for the kilo fruit. Did you know that back in the day in Blox Fruits, rocket fruit obviously used to be called the kilo fruit, but a lot of you guys already know that, but that's not what this trick is about. When you used many of the old kilo fruits abilities, you would actually get launched up into the sky and fall down. But did you know that the height you fell from actually used to have a damage multiplier, which means the higher up you were, the more damage you did with the kilo fruit. So say I fell from world height onto the floor while using a kilo fruit ability, then I would literally do like 10 times more damage. It was extremely overpowered. I see the reason the devs removed this because the kilo fruit is meant to be one of the worst fruits in the whole game, and having a damage multiplier would have been completely unfair. If you have a bad fruit that does more damage, it kind of just ruins the point of the whole game. Moving on to the next secret trick, I'm going to be talking about the venom fruit. Most people should know about the venom fruit. It's pretty popular, but you might have not known the secret thing about its one ability, the X ability. Once you transform with the venom fruit and activate this amazingly cool transformation, the X ability, which is called Noxus Shot, actually has aimbot. So if you're next to a player and you use this ability, it's literally instantly going to lock onto them, making it completely impossible for them to teleport. Even if they activate their life flight or literally do anything, they cannot dodge it no matter what. Anyways, the next trick that I got here has to do with the boat, and it's actually a pretty cool secret. If you head over to the factory on the second sea and you head right behind it, you're gonna notice a cyborg NPC, and this is literally Frankie from One Piece, if you didn't know. If you talk to this guy, then he's gonna sell you a lantern boat for 1.5k fragment. And before update 20, this actually used to be called the flower ship, and I think it's supposed to be the 1000 Sunny from One Piece, but it doesn't really look like it. Well, I guess they can't really make the boat that big anyway. It would be way too overpowered. But do I recommend buying this for 1.5k fragments? Not really. It's a pretty basic boat, and I recommend to save your fragments for like Fruit Awakenings or something more useful. Alright, moving on, we got the most useful trick that you guys should know 100%, and that's how to max out your observation hockey as well as your normal one. For the observation, all you have to do is simply activate it, use up all your dodges, and just server hop. This is the fastest and most efficient way to level up your observation hockey because normally it takes a lot of time to reset your dodges. Next way is to level up your normal hockey, and this one is very, very cool, and something I mentioned in one of my first videos. All you have to do is simply equip the elemental fruit and buy the worst sword in the whole game. And if you want to use this trick to its max, max, make sure you don't have any stat points put into your sword. Once you do that, you're gonna find an enemy that doesn't have hotkey. Try to find one of the most powerful enemies in the game that doesn't. All you have to do is head over to them, stand on their spawn point, activate an auto clicker, and equip that trashy sword that you bought, and boom. Just leave this overnight, and your hotkey should be completely maxed out when you wake up. Next up is a pretty cool fact about the love fruit's movement ability. Everyone knows about this. It's literally just a flamingo, and it's no surprise it can actually pick up your teammates. But did you know that this movement ability can actually pick up NPCs, even hostile ones, which is very, very interesting. I'm not sure why it exists, but this doesn't really have much practical use unless you want to take a trip with an NPC. Well, you can't even really take a trip because when you fly too far away, they literally despawn. Well, whatever. Let's head over to the next trick. This is a pretty cool one if you want to farm a bunch of fragments. All you have to do is head over into the third sea, head over to Hydra Island, and once you come to this specific area, you can equip the quest to kill an NPC who's called a training dummy. And once you first look at him, you might be kind of scared because you're going to notice that he actually has the dark blade, but don't worry, he only has the damage from the dark blade and has no other abilities to go with it. But one thing you should know before fighting this guy is that make sure you constantly spam him with abilities, because if you don't spam him for a bit, then his health is going to regenerate all the way to max. And once you kill him, boom, you've gotten you 200 fragments. But you should know that you can only take this quest every hour, so it isn't that useful, but 200 fragments per hour is still a very, very good trade-off. Next is a fact about the sand fruit. Everyone knows about the sand fruit. It's a pretty popular fruit in the game, but did you know that it actually has one huge weakness that literally none of the other fruits in the game have, and that is taking double damage in water, which can be pretty bad if you're fighting against someone over water, but then again, when does that ever happen? Alright, next up, I'm going to be telling you guys about this NPC called Eren. And no, I'm not talking about Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan. I'm talking about Erin. This NPC is located at the castle on the third sea. Once you head over to her, you can actually rewatch the Rip Indra versus My Game 43 fight, which is actually a pretty cool cinematic that plays once you head into the third sea. But in case you forgot what happened, or you just want to rewatch the movie, well, you know where to find it now. Well, speaking about their fight, the lore of this game doesn't really make sense because, as most of you know, Rip Indra and My Game are actually brothers in real life, so it makes no sense that they would be fighting. Well, sometimes you just gotta switch it up for story, I guess. Next up, I'm gonna be telling you guys about a pretty cool sword that exists in the game, and this is the pole. And no, I'm not talking about the pole V1, I'm talking about the pole V2. But to get the pole V2, you obviously need the V1. The V1, you can get it from an NPC called the Thunder God, who's located at Upper Skylands in the first sea. The V1 is pretty trashy, so there's no real point of using this. Well, if you get to the V2, this sword is actually gonna get pretty powerful. And to upgrade the sword to its V2, you simply have to equip the Rumble Fruit and unlock and awaken all of the moves, which requires a total of 14,500 fragments. And once you complete all 5 Rumble Raids to awaken the fruit, you have to complete a 6th Rumble Raid with the fully awakened Rumble Fruit. Then you'll be teleported to an island in the sky where you can talk to the Thunder God NPC and then upgrade your pole to V2 for 5,000 fragments, which means in total, this is going to cost 19,500 fragments. So do I recommend this? I'm not really sure because I haven't personally used the sword myself, but it looks like an extremely good sword. And in case you're wondering, the first ability is called Hand of God with 150 master requirement, and the second one is called Electric Prison. And the M1 abilities of this sword do an average of 3,020 damage, which makes this sword extremely powerful. Next up, I got a trick that lets you become Spider-Man, and this actually has 2 different versions. The first one is the normal version, and the second one is the budget version, which means one looks cool and one just looks kind of lame. The first way is to just simply equip the spider fruit, and boom, once you use the movement ability, you're going to be swinging around like Spider-Man. And the second way is by killing the Fishman Lord, who's located at Underwater City on the first sea. Once you kill him, he has a chance of dropping this trident, and the Z ability of this trident lets you grapple hook, and that's why I said budget Spider-Man, because look at this. This isn't even really Spider-Man. This is like Batman with a grappling trident, I guess. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, I'm going to show you how to get into space in Blox Fruit. And there's 3 different ways of doing this, and these all include infinite movement abilities. The first one is the light fruit. For this, you simply have to aim at the sky and just fly, I guess. The second way is by using the old kilo fruit, which you can't really do anymore for obvious reasons. For this one, all you have to do is equip the umbrella ability and just infinitely fly into the sky. And the final way you can do this is by using the barrier stairs. They just let you, well, go up, I guess. But this is incredibly difficult because you can't do this with the auto clicker or a macro or anything like that. You have to be physically active, which is kind of annoying. So if you want to get into space, I recommend using the light fruit. It's probably the easiest and fastest way. Alright, next thing I'm going to be telling you guys is going to help you a butt ton when it comes to farming NPCs, and you can literally use this in the first sea, the second sea, and the third sea. It literally works everywhere. It's pretty simple, and it also does involve guns. I know I've trash talked guns a lot in the past, but this is probably the most useful thing you can use them for. And it doesn't matter. You don't even need to have stat points added to your guns. You can just have a normal character build. For this, I recommend buying the slingshot or literally any gun that has a decently fast firing rate, because that's the main thing for this trick. Once you do that, you just simply equip your gun, and what you're going to use it to do is gather up enemies. It's incredibly easy to do. It doesn't require much aim. You just point at them and click, and boom. Once you do that, you're actually going to aggro your enemy, which means they're going to be attacking you no matter what. Because everyone knows when you try to group up enemies in Blox fruits normally, sometimes they just stop walking towards you for some reason. Even if you do like 1 damage to them, they follow you forever. And that's the reason you're going to be using this gun. Once you round them up, then you can group them in one place and use an area of damage attack, which is completely going to decimate them. And everyone knows that in Blox fruits, it's 10 times easier to farm if you group up your enemies, because doing damage to multiple targets is better than doing damage to one. Next up is a pretty cool Easter egg, and a lot of you new gen Blox fruits players might not know this, and I was one of them. If you head over to the cafe, everyone knows that there's this secret spot underneath. But once you climb inside, you're going to notice these 2 NPCs, and they might just look like normal NPCs who tell you about the titles in the game, but the skins of these guys are actually very special. These are some of the most OG Blox fruits YouTubers. The first one is Axori, who has a total of 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube, and the second one is Official Newbie with 964,000 subscribers. And that's it for all the tricks. This is how you get literal speed hacks with the butter fruit, and this is how you get 20 air jumps instead of 10. These are some crazy illegal things that you can do in Blox fruits. Okay, so the very first glitch I got for you guys here is actually a very crazy speed glitch that literally lets you travel at light speed without even actually using any fruit. And the way you do that is that you simply need to have the Buddha transformation equipped. And you have to make sure that it's the unawakened version of the Buddha fruit. And then you need to hold a fruit in your hand. You literally just need to equip the fruit. Once you do that, you have to hold A or D. And then you literally start zipping across the map in light speed. And if there's no obstacle in your way, you literally just keep flying forever. And this is actually a very useful glitch because it actually does have practical use. I mean, who doesn't want to go light speed? I'm pretty sure this is faster than the light fruit if you do it properly. Moving on, we got another very overpowered glitch. This is the glitch that literally lets you become invincible. Like, you literally take no damage from anything. And the way you do that is actually very simple. All you have to do is go into the second or the third sea and complete a raid. And you obviously need to do the raid with the fruit that you're going to awaken, because if you don't, then this won't really work. And once you teleport into the awakenings room, all you have to do is glitch out with the flash step. In previous videos, I've showed you guys how to get into the box, but this time you're actually going to be exiting the box. And once you get up to the mainland, you're actually going to realize that you take absolutely no damage from anything. Not from NPCs, not from players, literally from nothing. And there's a blatant reason why this is extremely overpowered, because, bro, you're going to be winning every PvP fight, and the only way to undo this glitch is to reset your character or rejoin the game. Otherwise, you literally cannot die to anything. And you can even go back to the awakening room and actually awaken the ability you need. Moving on, the next glitch we got here is going to let you access the cursed ship early. Everyone knows that the cursed ship is this huge ship that's located at the second sea. But did you know that the inside of the ship is not actually where it seems to be? And that place is located behind the second sea. So once you spawn into the second sea, if you grab a boat and just drive backwards, you're going to actually reach the real place of the cursed ship. Just make sure you don't step on this red stuff because it does a lot of damage and you're probably going to end up dying. This glitch does not have much practical use, but it's still a pretty cool thing. And if you haven't unlocked the cursed ship, this is a way to get to it early. Moving on, we got a very cool visual glitch, and this is to make your character basically turn into a ghost without having the ghost fruit ability activated. And for this, all you have to do is use the passive ability of the ghost fruit. Everyone knows how the passive ability works, but if you don't, it basically turns you into a ghost with half health after you die. And basically use this passive ability while having a different fruit's transformation equipped. You can use this with literally anything that has a transformation. The Buddha, the mammoth, even the leopard fruit works. And you basically just become a ghost version of whatever transformation you choose. It is pretty cool. But regardless, it doesn't have much practical use, well, because you're not really doing anything. It doesn't really give you any buffs in fights, but you can kind of just flex on players, I guess. Moving on, we got another glitch, and this one is completely random, and it's an extremely rare glitch that does not happen a lot. And this is the red sky glitch. Actually, I could not find any videos of this glitch. There's just photos from the Blox fruits wiki. In my opinion, I think this glitch might have something to do with the future updates, but I'm not really sure. Moving on, I'm going to be telling you guys a way to get into the raid's awakening room without actually doing a raid. I mentioned it in previous videos, but I'm going to show you guys quickly. All you have to do is head down to this area that's located at the second sea, and I recommend getting a fruit that allows you to walk on water, like the ice fruit or the awakened magma fruit. And once you do that, you simply just have to walk on the water all the way to this box, and boom, you can glitch inside. And if you're wondering if you can actually awaken your fruit by doing this glitch, well, you can't, because that would be way too overpowered. Like, the fruit would be maxed out by now. Moving on, I got a night vision glitch, and this is going to help you a butt ton, especially and only at nighttime. And I recommend using this glitch in huge maps like the second or third sea, because I don't think you really need this in the first sea. It's a very small place. Everyone knows that it's incredibly difficult to see islands at night, and that's the time I recommend you guys to use this glitch. All you have to do is move your camera angle to between the water and in the sea and the area above, and once you do that, you should be able to see the islands a little bit better, and your screen will actually appear kind of bluish and the islands will appear white, and you should be able to tell which island you're going to by the highlights of the islands. And if you can't, well, I recommend playing the game a little bit more so you get used to those. Moving on, I got a pretty cool glitch which lets you teleport with a boat. And you might be wondering, Hans, how the heck do you teleport with a boat? Well, there's actually two different ways to do this. One way is by using the portal fruit's ability or the teleport home ability while sitting in a boat. But this method is extremely difficult to do, but the plus side is that you can actually teleport your boat to specific islands. And who doesn't want to get their boats to places? It's pretty cool, but it doesn't have much practical use. And the second way is the easy way, and I recommend you guys doing this. But this one does have to do with raids, so you actually cannot do this if you're in the first sea. All you have to do is go into a raid while driving a boat or leave a raid while on a boat. And you might be wondering, how the heck do you actually get on a boat after activating a raid? Well, it's simple, but not really. You have to activate the portal fruit's ability after you put in the raid microchip. And this is extremely difficult to do, especially for people that don't have the portal fruit. There's no real other way of doing it, unless you can time your home button perfectly. But I don't really recommend that. If you want to really do this glitch, I recommend getting the portal fruit. This next glitch has something to do with the Buddha's hitbox. For this glitch, you can do it with the unawakened Buddha. You can also do it with the awakened version. And for this, you basically need any sword or fighting style. And keep in mind, this glitch does not work in the game with guns because the Buddha's transformation does not enlarge guns. Everyone knows that the Buddha fruit is known for its incredible range, but this glitch basically lets you keep that range while you're untransformed, which makes it incredibly overpowered. All you have to do is simply transform into the Buddha fruit and then untransform quickly as soon as you switch to a sword or fighting style. It's extremely difficult to do, and they might have actually patched this recently, I'm not sure, because I actually had a really hard time doing that. But I've done it before a butt ton of times, and you'll see that if you watch my old videos. Basically, the Buddha fruit actually increases your hitbox by 8 times, and that's the reason the Buddha fruit is considered the best fruit in the game for grinding. And if you can combine that with sword attacks while not being transformed, it makes it incredibly overpowered. But keep in mind, to do this glitch, you need to have 150 ping or lower. Moving on, I got a pretty interesting glitch, and this one is called the bouncy boat glitch. Like the previous boat glitch, this one does not have much practical use, but it's something pretty cool to do regardless. And this is extremely simple to do, and literally anyone can do it because this is a glitch that's doable in the first sea. All you have to do is simply drive any type of boat that you have into the Fishman Island teleporter. And once you do that, it's actually going to teleport your boat onto land. And if you actually walk into your boat, it's going to send you flying away. This glitch was actually a lot easier to do in the previous updates of the game because you had way smaller boats. Now the boats are literally all gigantic. So I recommend using the dinghy boat for this one because it's the smallest boat in the game.
Hey, what happened?
Next glitch I got here is probably the best glitch in the whole game, and it has the most practical use out of every glitch on this list. That is the flash step wall glitch. All you have to do is basically angle your camera and boom, you should be able to teleport through walls. And I use this glitch on a day-to-day basis, literally every time I play the game. I don't know what I would do without this glitch. But something special about this glitch is that the flash step is actually not the only way of using it. People that have the Coco sword can actually also use this glitch if you use the Z ability of the sword at a specific angle. And you can also do this with the death step Z ability. But it's incredibly difficult to do. The flash step way is the easiest way of doing it, so I recommend sticking to that. This next glitch is called speed dashing, and this obviously has a lot of practical use because it lets you make your dashes faster. Basically, all you have to do is press Q and then space, and while you're doing that, you have to head towards something like a stair, or you just dash around. And basically, the more you dash, the faster you get, but you have to time your jumps properly, and it's incredibly difficult to do. So if you want to actually master this, then I recommend practicing it. And this one works a lot better with races that actually increase your dash distance. Races like the ghoul race make this glitch 10 times better because you get an extra 30% run speed during the night and your dashes are longer. Next glitch we got here, it doesn't have much practical use, but then again it looks pretty cool. And this is the stacked fruits glitch. For this one, you basically need to drop a fruit and then have someone hold a fruit at the same time as they pick up the drop fruit. And you actually need 2 people to do this, so you need friends, and that is something that I do not have. But I'm not sure if this has been patched past update 20, but this is something you could do in the history of the game. Next glitch is basically gonna get you stuck in a wall. I'm not sure why you would want to do this, but then again, who cares? This is how you do it. You simply have to use the roller donut ability and roll into the top corner of the cafe on the second sea, and you're literally just stuck. You can't get out unless you dismiss the ability. You can't roll out of place because you're literally stuck. Next glitch I got here for you guys is basically gonna let you use 10 more air jumps than usual. And everyone knows that air jumps are literally one of the most amazing abilities in the whole game. They make your life in general much easier, and they're probably one of the most useful abilities after hockey. And for this, you need the leopard fruit equipped. All you have to do is use your 10 air jumps, and then if you use the leopard fruit's X ability, then you should be able to do 10 more. This is basically going to give you 20 jumps if you have the leopard fruit equipped, and that's all. This is how you become invisible in Blox Fruits, and this is how you get to a secret glitched area underneath the map. These are some crazy Blox Fruits tricks pros abuse that you don't. Okay, so in the very first trick, I'm going to be showing you how to get completely invisible. There's literally going to be no particle effects around you, and all you need for this is Human V4. Once you equip Human V4, simply use your transformation ability. Then you have to equip the light fruit. Once you equip the light fruit, simply use the light ability while you use flash step, and make sure you're in your Human V4 transformation. And once you do that, you're just going to go half invisible. And what I mean by that is you're still going to have the Human V4 effects around you. But now just wait for your Human V4 to run out, and once that happens, boom, you're just completely invisible. You can try stuff like holding fruits, and then people are just going to see a floating fruit. It's just pretty goofy. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, this is going to show you how to super jump, and it's extremely simple to do. All you have to do is head over into your Roblox settings and change your movement options to click. So this makes it so that every time you click, you walk to where you clicked. It's pretty weird. I'm not sure why anyone would normally use this, but you need it for the super jump glitch. Once you do that, you simply have to click to a distance and then dash and jump at the same time. And if you've done this correctly, it's going to send you flying into the sky. Unlike most other tricks, this is extremely useful in PvP. If you can super jump above your enemy, it's going to give you a huge advantage in the fight. So make sure you abuse the crap out of this before it's patched. Next up, have you guys ever wondered what would happen if you use the Portal Fruit's TP ability while you're in the middle of a raid? Everyone knows that raids are completely separate from the whole map. I mean, they're still like in the same world, but they're just really far away. So I'm guessing the Portal Fruit should work. But you would be surprised to know that the Portal Fruit does not work at all. There's literally no point in using this ability, which makes it completely useless for raids. So if you're farming for raids, I recommend using a Butterfruit because it's probably the best for them. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, this is going to show you how to glitch underneath the map and access this very secret cool looking area. And all you simply need for this is a computer, have Roblox Blox fruits running, and obviously buying flash step, because that's how 90% of the glitches in this game work. Next up, you need to head over to the specific stair right here, and once you do that, tilt your camera like this, and then boom, just use your flash step ability. This is going to take some getting used to, but if you practice well, you should be able to do it. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, I got one of the most overpowered tricks. This is going to make your PvP life 10 times easier. You're going to be winning every battle after using this glitch. Everyone knows about hitboxes, but if you don't, it's basically what decides where you get hit. And in most other games outside Roblox, your hitbox is actually not determined by what avatar / character you have on. But it's not the same for Roblox. Your hitbox actually depends on your avatar. So if you have an extremely small avatar, then you're going to be incredibly difficult to hit. That means if you equip the smallest avatar possible on Roblox, you should literally be undefeated in PvP. And if you look at this avatar right here, it is literally the smallest avatar that you can possibly get in the whole game. It's literally one stud big. I'm not sure if it works in Blox fruits, but you can get some extremely small ones. Like this one you can buy from the marketplace. It's going to make your PvP life extremely easy. You're literally going to be winning fights all the time. Anyways, let's move on to the next trick. This trick is literally going to let you spin around fruits, weapons, and anything you can hold like a basketball. And what you need for this is the Pole V1, which most people should have if you're done with the first sea. And if you don't, just head over to Upper Sky, fight this boss over and over until you get it. Once you get Pole V1, all you have to do is simply use an ability of it and unequip it at the exact same time. And if your hand is spinning, you know you've done it correctly. And now all you have to do is simply equip the fruit and boom, it's literally going to be spinning around in your hand. You can also try this with stuff like swords and literally anything that you can hold. If you switch the sword while having the Butterfruit, you're going to have a giant spinning sword, and this just looks incredibly weird. And this is probably one of the coolest visual glitches in the whole of Blox fruits. This glitch doesn't have much practical use, but you can show off your cool tricks to your friends. Anyways, next thing I got here for you guys is just a pretty cool fact. Everyone knows that there's 3 C's in Blox fruits. But what do you guys think is actually the percentage of people that have reached the second C? Well, I'm just gonna tell you it's way lower than you think. Out of the 100% of people that have played Blox fruits, only 0.6% have reached the second C. And if you're one of those players, just count yourself incredibly lucky. Or well talented, I guess. And the percentage of people that reach the third C is only 0.4%. And if you add up the numbers in total, 40 million people have reached the second C and 24 million people have reached the third C. That may seem like a lot, but when you factor in the total amount of people that play Blox fruits, this is a very small percentage. Anyways, moving on, I'm going to be telling you about a pretty cool secret where you can just farm a butt ton of cash. All you have to do is head over to the third sea in the haunted castle. If you head all the way up here, you're going to notice that there's 3 diamond chests. And the fastest way to get up here is actually just using the light fruit. You can literally zip up there. Once you collect these chests, since it's 3 diamond chests, you're going to get 8 to 12,000 belly for each chest. And if you just server hop this method, do it over and over, you're going to get like 10 million cash in no time. And if you have double money, you're going to be farming the belly twice as efficiently. It's very overpowered. Speaking of chests, I'm going to be telling you guys about every single chest in Blox fruits. And a lot of you guys might have not known. Now, I literally didn't know before I did research for this. So the very first chest we got here is the silver chest. It's pretty basic. It gives you around 400 bucks in the first sea, 1,000 in the second, and 1,600 in the third. Then we got the golden chest. It gives you around 1,000 belly in the first sea, 3,000 in the second, and 5,200 in the third. And this is something I actually didn't know before. The amount of money a chest gives you actually varies depending on the seas. I wish I knew this before. Anyways, moving on, we got the diamond chest, and in the first sea, this gives you 2.3k, in the second sea, 7k, and in the third sea, 12k. Next up, we got the Mirage chest, which looks exactly like the diamond chest, but it spawns on the Mirage Island, and this one gives you 8 to 12,000. We also got a pretty cool chest called the Fragment chest, which you can also find on the Mirage Island, which gives you around 100 to 200 fragments. Next up, we got a chest that I literally didn't even know existed. It used to be in the game during the Halloween event 2023, and this is called the Curse chest that has this pretty cool black aura, and it just looks amazing overall. And I have no idea what it gives you because it was only around during the Halloween event, and I don't think I was playing the game back then. Anyways, moving on to the next trick. This is something that's extremely useful, and you guys should start abusing the crap out of this right now. If you head over to the Blox fruit dealer and you type in chat sub to hands on YT, then you roll a fruit, you get a guaranteed legendary fruit. Anyways, next trick is about this phoenix fruit, and this isn't really a trick, it's just a pretty cool fact that I observed. If you take a close look at the phoenix fruit, it actually has only one eye, which doesn't make sense because phoenixes are supposed to have two eyes, and the fruit in the anime also does have two eyes. It's just a pretty interesting glitch. Anyways, moving on, I'm going to be telling you about this cool sword. It's a scythe. I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of people with that, but a lot of people don't even know how to get it. Well, you have to defeat a boss called the Soul Reaper, and if you've never seen him before, you shouldn't be surprised. A lot of people haven't. He's not a normal boss. He's a raid boss that you have to spawn in by doing a bunch of special stuff. Once you spawn him in, you obviously have to kill him, and then you have a chance of getting the sword. This boss is level 2100. He has a total of 260,000 HP and does around 2,000 to 3,000 damage per hit, so he's incredibly difficult to beat. So I recommend getting a bunch of your friends to help you when you're fighting this guy. Next up, I'm going to be telling you about the two best accessories in the whole game. First up, we got the Leviathan shield. This is a mythical accessory. It gives you 15% defense against melee, sword, and gun attacks, a 30% defense against sea events, 90% protection against water damage, and 1,000 health. And the other accessory we got here is the party hat, which you can no longer get because it was only there during the confetti event. This gives you plus 10% experience, plus 10% mastery, as well as 400 energy and 400 health. I'm pretty sure that this party hat is actually a lot better because it's going to help you level up much better. This is like the only accessory in the game that increases the XP you can get and the mastery you can get. But when you come to practical stats like fighting someone, this Leviathan shield is 100% better because it gives you a 15% defense against literally every type of attack in the whole game, except for fruits, I guess. Okay, everyone knows about update 20. It was literally one of the biggest updates in Blox Fruit's history. But did you know that the reason they actually changed the fruits from these old models to these new ones was not for the reason you think? When the update came out, everyone thought Blox Fruits just wanted to switch stuff around, make it look a lot more child friendly, but that isn't actually the reason. The reason they're actually constantly changing stuff in this game is to actually avoid copyright, because everyone knows that Blox Fruits is actually made after the One Piece anime, and if they have too many similarities, then One Piece can just copyright strike them, which wouldn't be good for anybody. Next trick I got here is going to help you a butt ton when you want to unlock stuff like Raise Fee 4, or literally anything you need a full moon for. All you have to do is head over to a really high point on the map, turn your graphics to literal 0, jump into the sky and hold an ability. Once you do this, you should be able to see the moon underneath the map. Well, I guess you can only use this during daytime because if it's nighttime, then you can already see the moon above you. But basically, this is going to help you see what the moon is like. And if you open up a moon cycle chart, you're actually going to see exactly when a full moon is supposed to show up. And I guess you can just use this trick server hop until you get a full moon. So you can do what you need to do with that. Next trick I'm going to be telling you is actually about the beautiful pirate. Everyone knows about this NPC. He's just a boss who's located at the third sea. But did you know that he's not actually located at the floating turtle where he might seem to be? He's actually located underneath Hydra Island. Once you try to fight the beautiful pirate, you're gonna notice it teleports you, and it's not teleporting you anywhere nearby. You're literally getting zipped across the map. Because if you glitch outside his box and you climb all the way up here, you're gonna notice that you're on Hydra Island. That's it for the tricks. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the only boats guide for Blox Fruits that you'll ever need. After update 20, there were a butt ton of new boats added to the game, and there was some remodelings done, so I'm going to be giving you guys a complete guide to all of them. First up, we got the dinghy boat, and this boat is the literal worst boat in the whole of Blox Fruits. I mean, just look at this. It has a total of 100 health, and you can spawn it in for free. That's the reason it's so bad. It's the second smallest boat in the game and the slowest boat, and can only fit 2 players on it. And if you're actually wondering where the other seat is, it's actually behind the flag. Some people might miss this one. The appearance of the boat is pretty basic. It's just half a cylinder, it's brown, it has a tiny room in the back and a small square on top. And despite being free, this is actually overshadowed by the sloop boat because it's one of the cheapest boat in the game and is the fastest free to play boat in the whole game, excluding the sleigh obviously, but a lot of people don't have that. And if you're wondering, this is how the old model looks like. I'm sure a lot of you guys should remember this, but for you newer players, you completely missed out on this. And that's pretty much it for the dinghy. Moving on to the next boat, the next one I got here is called the sloop. And like I mentioned before, this is the fastest boat that any free-to-play player in this game can access. It costs a total of 300 belly, and this boat is actually different depending on whether you're a marine or a pirate. And you can also buy the boat for 150 if you're a marine, which is pretty good. If you're a pirate and you're in a crew, then your crew logo is actually going to be on the flag of the boat. But if you're not in a crew, then you're just going to have this default white banner. This boat has a total of 3 seats, and it's the second cheapest boat that can be bought from the boat dealer. And this is actually one of the most common boats in the whole of the first seat, because you're not going to be buying massive boats. Your priority is speed. And that's what this specializes in for free-to-play players. And if you're wondering what the old model of the boat looks like, this is what it looked like. It hasn't changed a lot compared to the other boat, but change is still a change. Anyways, moving on to the next boat we got here, it's called the Brigade. And you can also obviously buy this from the boat dealer. This boat is actually massive. It has 6 sails and 4 cannons. It has a total of 2,000 health. It costs a total of 1,000 belly. And if you're on the boat, you can actually control the cannon's trajectory by sitting and clicking in the place that you want to shoot. And just take a look at what this boat looks like. It's also one of the boats in the game that have slightly changed after update 20, but it still has the original ideas. And there's actually a requirement to spawn in this boat. It's pretty basic. If you're a pirate and you want to unlock this boat, you have to kill and defeat 3 marines. If you're a marine and you want to unlock this boat, then you just have to kill and defeat 3 different pirates. Anyways, that's it for the Brigade. Let's move on to the next one. The next one we got here is called the Grand Brigade ship. And just like the previous boat, this also has the same requirements. You need to kill either 3 marines or 3 pirates, depending on what team you're on. And this is one of the best boats to use for raids because look at how massive it is. It has a total of 2,500 HP and costs 4,000 belly to spawn in if you're a pirate. But if you're a marine, then you can spawn this boat in for 2,000. And this is actually the boat that spawns in during raids. But if you're in a raid, I don't recommend using this because dashing and teleporting and using all your abilities is usually a lot faster. Anyways, let's get into the specifics of this boat. It has a total of 6 cannons, 3 on each side, and it's really huge. And it's also a very good option for ship raids because it has 2,500 HP. You can also use it for sea beast, but sea beast hunting does not require a powerful boat like ship raids do. And just like the other boats here, this also slightly changed after update 20. You can barely notice the changes. Anyways, moving on to the first boat that you actually buy from the luxury boat dealer instead of the normal boat dealer. And this boat is called the Miracle. And this is what it looks like. It's extremely small and it can only fit 1 player. I mean, you can kind of cheese this, but they don't actually have proper seats. This boat has a total of 1,200 HP, and you can only get this if you buy the Fast Boats Game Pass, which is the Game Pass that lets you access the luxury boat dealer. And I 100% recommend this Game Pass if you want to get from island to island in a flash. And this boat is actually good for some sea events because it's an incredibly small size, which makes the cannonballs from the ship raid incredibly difficult to hit it. Because look at how small it is. How are you going to hit that? And this boat actually used to be called the Speedboat before it was revamped in Update 20. I'm not sure which version I like better. I think this one does look a lot cooler and it literally flies. Who doesn't like that? Anyways, moving on, the next boat I got here is called the Sentinel. Just like the previous boat, this one can actually also fly. It has a total of 1,000 HP and it costs 1,000 belly to buy, but you can only buy it from the luxury boat dealer and everyone knows you need the Game Pass to get that. And an amazing fact about the Sentinel is that it is factually the fastest boat in the whole game, which means if you prioritize speed, then this is definitely the boat that you're looking for. But remember, you do have to have the Game Pass. And the thing about this boat is it's actually faster than the light flight ability. It's faster than water walking fruits like the ice fruit and the magma V2. The only thing that's actually faster than this in the whole game is the portal fruit. Kind of cheating, I know, but it still counts. And it also does have a butt ton of seats, so unless you have like a billion friends, you should be fine with seating all of them on your boat. This one's also good for sea beast hunting because it has a total of 1,000 HP. I mean, it's not the best, but it will do. And this boat actually used to be the Enforcer before, but it was revamped in update 20. And if you guys are wondering about the OG boats, don't worry, I'm going to be telling you about everything in this video. Anyways, moving on to the next boat. This one is called the Guardian, and you already know it's going to be good because I mean, literally look at its name. This is another boat that you can only get from the luxury boat dealer, and it costs a total of 5,000 belly to buy, but you can only get this after defeating the Dawn Swan boss. And this boat is actually a replacement for the Swan ship, and the only difference between the Swan ship and this one after update 20 is that its size and name changed. Literally nothing else. The appearance is pretty cool. It's a dark blue coated wooden boat, and it has a total of 7 cannons, and it has a huge fin on its side, kind of like a swordfish. And compared to the rest of the fast boats, this boat is noticeably slower. It's not the slowest in the game, but if you switch from the faster boats to this one, you're going to notice a huge change. But it does have 2,500 health to make up for that. That makes it one of the most indestructible boats in the whole game. Anyways, moving on to the next boat I got here, it's called the Lantern, and this is yet another boat that you can only get from the luxury boat dealer. But the way you get this is actually different. You need to go all the way into the second seat, then head over to the factory, and then you buy it from the cyborg NPC, who's actually Frankie from One Piece, for a total of 1,500 fragments to get it. And once you do that, you can purchase this ship for a total of 5,000 belly from the luxury boat dealer whenever you want. It has a total of 2,500 health, 4 flags, 4 cannons, and a small Easter egg hidden on the highest flag. And it can actually fire at much better angles than different ships because it actually has cannons in the front. And some cool trivia about this boat is that it's the only boat in the game that costs fragments to unlock. And it's obviously the replacement for the flower ship, which was removed in update 20. Moving on to the next boat, this one here is called the Beast Hunter. This is a legendary boat and it was added to the game in update 20. It has a total of 2,500 HP and you get it from the Beast Hunter NPC. And to buy this boat, you actually need a butt ton of stuff. You need 20 Leviathan scales, 6 electric wings, 2 mutant teeth, 30 fool's gold, and 6 shark teeth. And the reason you need this boat is to attain the Leviathan's heart. And after you craft this boat, you'll be able to buy it at a cost of 5,000 belly from the luxury boat dealer at any time. And this is actually the only boat in the whole game that requires a literal crafting recipe to unlock it. Basically like a weapon. I mean, just look at it. It is a weapon. Anyways, moving on to the next boat I got here is the Slay. And if you haven't heard about this, I don't blame you. It's literally one of the most OG boats in the whole game. And the only NPC you can get it from is Santa Claus, who appears during the Christmas event. You can be spawned in for a total of 5,000 belly from the luxury boat dealer once you bought it with the candies. And the reason it's so rare is because you can only get candies during the Christmas event. This is actually the third fastest boat in the game, the first obviously being the Sentinel and the second being the Miracle. But this boat is actually small enough to avoid most cannonballs. But it does only have 1,000 health, which is kind of the same as the other two fast boats. In my opinion, the only reason to have this boat is just to kind of flex it on others. I mean, who has this boat? And it also does look extremely cool. Just look at it. Anyways, now we're heading into the boats that have actually been completely removed from the game. So if you've used these boats, then count yourself an OG. First up, we got the speedboat, and this was the original boat that you get from the luxury boat dealer, completely for free. It has a total of 1,200 HP and kind of basic, but it was made a long time ago, so I don't blame the devs for this. Next boat we got here is the Enforcer, and this is a boat I abused the crap out of. It costs a total of 1,000 belly and has a 1,000 HP, and the only reason I used it was because it was fast. The next boat we got here is the basic boat. It costs a total of 1,000 belly, but it does have 2,000 health. And this was actually replaced by the Brigade. I mean, the Brigade just looks a lot better. Look at this old model. It's actually terrible. The next one we got here is the Swan Ship. This has obviously also been removed, but I mean, just look at how cool this boat used to look. I think this was actually better than the newer version. It cost a total of 5,000 belly and it had a total of 2,500 HP. And this was the boat you actually unlocked after defeating Don Swan. And this actually represents it a lot better because everyone knows that Don Swan is actually Doflamingo from One Piece. And this boat kind of has his eyes. I mean, you just have to look close enough. Anyways, the next boat I got here is the Flower Ship. And this is actually the boat that you could buy from the Cyborg NPC for 1,500 fragments. And just like I mentioned before, you can spawn this boat in from the guy for 5,000 belly and it has a total of 2,500 HP. And that's it for the boats. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the only guide you need for every single boss in Blox Fruits. And the very first one that we got here is the Gorilla King. It's a pretty basic boss, the literal weakest boss in the game. You get a total of 2,000 belly and 7,000 XP when you kill this guy. And he has a total of 950 HP and does 27.7 damage per hit. And he's also a level 25 boss. Moving on, we got Bobby the Clown. This is a level 55 boss and his spawn time is around 9 to 10 minutes. He's located in the pirate village and the rewards for killing him are 8,000 belly along with 35,000 XP. And this guy has a total of 1,775 HP and he does around 60 damage per hit. And obviously, since this is buggy, he's gonna have the chop fruit. And because of that, he's immune to every single sword attack. And that's pretty much it for this guy. Moving on, we got the Saw boss. This is a level 100 boss. And I don't recommend fighting this boss if you're a noob because he's incredibly difficult to beat and it's not actually required to beat him to complete your quest, so you don't really need to worry about this. Moving on, we got the Yeti boss. This guy is located at the Frozen Village and he spawns every 5 minutes. He does a total of 4,600 HP and does 134 damage per hit, making him pretty strong. Once you kill him, you get 10,000 belly along with the 180,000 XP. Pretty decent if you ask me. Moving on, we got the Mob Leader, and a lot of you First C players might not know about this guy because he's kind of isolated and not really a main quest boss. The Mob Leader is level 120 boss and he spawns literally every minute, so you can literally farm the crap out of this guy, and he has a total of 2,750 HP, and on the wiki it says that he's the third easiest boss in the game. Moving on, we got the Vice Admiral. This is a level 130 boss who has a total of 4,100 HP and does around 140 to 160 damage per hit. He gives you a total of 15,000 belly along with 350,000 XP. And the good thing about this boss is that you can actually get a pretty cool accessory called the Vice Admiral's Code. And this accessory actually changes depending on whether you're a marine or a pirate. This is a pretty cool Easter egg. Moving on, we got the Saber Expert boss, and this is a level 200 boss who uses the Saber V1 as a weapon. His spawn time is around 30 minutes and he's located at the jungle. And if you want to fight this guy, you need to complete the long and tedious jungle quest, which I recommend doing if you're trying to get observation hockey. Moving on, we're heading over to the prison. You can actually find 3 different bosses at this place. The first first one is the Warden, who's level 220, who spawns in every 4 to 5 minutes. And once you defeat this guy, you get 6,000 belly along 850,000 XP. Moving on, we got the Chief Warden. This is a level 230 boss. Once you defeat him, you get 10,000 belly along with 1 million XP, as well as a chance of getting the Warden sword. He has a total of 9,000 HP and does around 380 to 389 damage per hit. So he's a pretty powerful boss. Moving on to the third and final boss, who's located at the prison, we got the Swan boss, who's level 240, and he has a chance of dropping you the pink coat accessory, but he only spawns in every 30 minutes. He has a total of 11,000 health and does around 140 damage. Once you complete the quest for this guy, you get 15,000 belly along with 1.6 million XP. Moving on, we got the Magma Admiral, who's obviously located at the Magma Village. This guy's level 350 boss, and he has a total of 14,500 HP and does 284 damage per hit. And since he's the Magma Admiral, obviously he uses the Magma Fruit, but it is the old version of it, and he can only use the Z and X ability, so he shouldn't be that difficult to beat. Moving on, we're heading over to Fishman Island / Underwater City location, and here we got the Fishman Lord, who's level 420 boss, who has a chance of dropping the Trident. He has a total of 18,000 HP and does around 470 damage per hit. Once you complete the quest for this guy, you get 15,000 belly along with 4,250,000 XP. And this guy does have two forms. The first one is kind of weak, but once you defeat him, he upgrades into his final form, and that's where the real fight begins. Moving on, we're heading over to Upper Sky. We got a level 500 boss named the Whisperer. He has a total of 18,000 HP and does 950 damage per attack, and this is the first boss in the game that actually uses a gun as a weapon. And moving on to our second boss, at Upper Sky, we got the Thunder God, aka Eno, who's level 575, and this guy uses the Pole V1 as his weapon and spawns in every 30 minutes. He has a total of 22,500 HP and does 770 damage per hit. Once you complete the quest for this guy, you get 20,000 belly along with 8 million XP. Next up, we got the final island boss of the first sea, and this is the Cyborg, who's a level 675 boss, who has a total of 30,000 HP and does around 600 to 700 damage per hit. Once you defeat this guy, you get 10 million XP as well as 20,000 belly, and also a chance of getting those cool shades dropped, which is a pretty interesting accessory. Not that good, but not that bad either. Moving on to the very final boss of the first sea, we got the Ice Admiral. This is an NPC you have to defeat to enter the second sea. Not much is known about this guy because many people don't fight him, but he is the strongest boss that's located in the first sea. Moving on to the second sea, the very first boss we got here is the Diamond boss, who's a level 750 boss, who uses the longsword as his weapon to fight. He has a total of 30,000 HP. He's located at Flower Hill in the Kingdom of Rose in the second sea. Once you complete the quest for this guy, it gives you 25,000 belly along with 12,500,000 XP. And you also get a small chance of receiving the longsword he uses. Next boss we got here is the Jeremy boss. This is a level 850 boss who spawns in every 15 minutes. He has a total of 35,000 HP, and the damage he does to you varies a lot, and he's located at this huge platform near the Kingdom of Rose. And he also has a chance of dropping you the black spiky coat, which is a very powerful accessory for the second sea. It gives you 200 energy, 200 health, and plus 7.5% damage. Doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, it's gonna help. Next boss we got here is called Vegeta. This is a level 925 boss who's located in the green zone. He has a total of 40,000 HP and does around 1,000 to 1,100 damage per attack. And he also uses the Gravity Cane sword to fight. And once you defeat this guy, you have a chance of actually getting that sword, as well as the belly and XP that comes with the quest. Moving on, we got the Dawn Swan boss. This is a level 1000 boss, and he obviously uses the Spider Fruit. And this is actually the boss you need to defeat before you enter the third sea. He's located at Dawn Swan's mansion and spawns in every 30 minutes. He has a total of 52,000 HP and does around 1,300 damage per hit. And he also has a chance of dropping you the Swan Glasses, and also drops the Guardian with a 100% chance, which is a pretty cool ship that you can use. Next boss we got here is the Smoke Admiral. It's a level 1150 boss who's located at the Hot and Cold Island. To be specific, on the hot side of the island. He has a total of 40,000 HP and uses the Jitte weapon to fight. Once you defeat him, you get all the belly with the quest along with the Jitte sword that he has, but it's not guaranteed to drop. Next boss we got here is the Awakened Ice Admiral, who's located at the Ice Castle on the second sea, and he spawns in every 20 minutes. He has a total of 25,000 HP, and he has a chance of dropping the Hidden Key as well as the Library Key. The Hidden Key basically unlocks a room underneath the staircase where you can get the Rengoku sword, and the Library Key unlocks the library, which has an NPC that can teach you Death Step. And did I mention this guy does 850 damage per attack? He's a very powerful boss. Moving on to the final NPC of the first sea, we got the Tidekeeper, who's located at the Forgotten Island. This is a level 1475 boss, and he has the power to literally spawn in sea beasts. He spawns in every 30 to 45 minutes and has a total of 105,000 HP. and he does around 900 to 2000 damage per attack. He has a chance of dropping you the Dragon Trident, and he also has a chance of dropping you the Water Key, which you can use to learn Sharkman Karate, one of the most powerful fighting styles in the whole game. And that's it for the second sea. Moving on to the third sea, the first boss we got here is the Stone Boss, and he's located right next to spawn. This boss is level 1550 and can drop the Pilot Helmet. He spawns in every 20 minutes, has a total of 97,000 HP, and does 482 damage per hit. That doesn't seem like a lot of damage, but he attacks you very fast. Once you complete the quest for this guy, you get 25,000 belly along with 60 million XP. Moving on, we got the Island Empress boss, and she's located at the Hydra Island. She's a level 1675 boss who has a chance of dropping the Serpent Bow and spawns in every 25 minutes. She has a total of 120,000 HP and does 1,600 damage per hit. Once you complete the quest for her, you get 30,000 belly along with 70 million XP. Moving on, we got the Kilo Admiral, and this NPC is located at the Great Tree Island. She's a level 1750 NPC and has a chance of dropping the Lay accessory, which gives you a 50% increase in your health regeneration, which is very powerful. And obviously, since she's the Kilo Admiral, she uses the Kilo Fruit. Once you complete the quest for her, you get a total of 35,000 belly along with 78,000 XP. Next boss we got here is called Captain Elephant. This is a level 1875 boss who's located at the Turtle Island. And this guy uses the Twin Hook Sword to fight. And he spawns in every 30 minutes. This boss has a total of 160,000 HP and does around 2,300 damage per hit. Once you complete the quest for this guy, you get 90 million XP along with 40,000 belly. Moving on, we got the Beautiful Pirate boss. This guy uses the Cavender Sword to fight and spawns in every 45 minutes. And he actually has two forms in battle, similar to the Fishman Lord from before. In his first form, he has a total of 120,000 HP, and in his second form he has 200,000 HP, which brings his total HP to 320,000, making him very powerful. Once you complete the quest for this guy, you get 50,000 belly along with 100 million XP. Damn, that's a lot of XP. Next up, we got the Longma boss, who's located at the Floating Turtle Island. He has a total of 80,000 HP and does around 2,000 damage per hit, and he obviously drops the Tushita sword, which is one of the most powerful swords in the whole game. He also gives you somewhere from around 20,000 to 30,000 belly, as well as 1,500,000 XP, along with 50,000 bound to your honor. The next boss is the Cake Queen. This is a level 2175 boss and spawns in every 30 minutes. She has a total of 261,000 HP and does a butt ton of damage using her buddy sword. Once you defeat her, you obviously have a chance of getting that sword drop, and that's it for every boss in the game. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the only titles guide that you will ever need. The first title we got here is the Tail Beast title, and you can get this from the Kitsune Shrine. Next up, we got the Naturic Blade, which you can get by clearing 200 sea events. Next up, we got Abyss Tamer, and for this one, you gotta clear 50 sea events. Then we got the Serpent Slayer, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Leviathan boss, which is pretty difficult to do. Next, we got Terrorbringer, and for this one, you gotta defeat 10 Terror Sharks. Not that hard, but not that simple either. Next up, we got the Dough King title, and you get this by defeating the Dough King. Next is Dough Commander, and you get this one by defeating the Cake Prince. Next up, we got the Devil's Luck, and for this one, you have to obtain a Hallow Essence and God's Chalice by praying. Next up, we got the Shingami, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Soul Reaper boss once. Next up, we got Death King, and for this one, you gotta collect 200 bones during the Halloween event. Next is Undead Lord, and this is the exact same thing, but you only gotta collect 500 bones. Next up is Skeleton, and for this one, you gotta collect 250 bones. Next up, we got the Final Hero title, and for this one, you gotta unlock the Rainbow Savior Aura color. Next, we got the main character, and for this one, you gotta complete the Citizen's Quest, which is a decent difficulty to do. Next up, we got the Chosen One. For this one, you gotta find the God's Chalice in the chest, which is incredibly difficult to do. Next up, we got the Shadow Sovereign. For this one, you gotta defeat Rip Indra in his true form, debatably one of the hardest things to accomplish in the game. Next up, we got Ration, and for this one, you gotta unlock the Electric Claw fighting style. Next up is Celestial Swordsman. For this one, you gotta unlock Tushita. Then we got Demon Mode, and for this one, you gotta unlock the Yama Sword. Moving on, we got the Real Deal, and for this one, you have to defeat an elite enemy. Next up, we got Raid Boss, and for this one, you gotta get a fruit from the Private Raid event, which you can do on the 3rd sea at the Castle on the Sea. Moving on, we got Loco Verde, and for this one, you gotta collect 1,000 candies, which you can only do during the Christmas event. Then we got Sugar Rush for 100 candies and Christmas Spirit for 250, just like the bones from before. Next up, we got Pirate King, and this one is probably one of the hardest titles to obtain. You gotta own a crew that's in the top 10 of the leaderboard for 72 hours. Next up, we got the Most Wanted, and for this one, you gotta own a crew that's currently in the top 100 in the leaderboard. Moving on, we got the Lonely Reaper, and for this one, you gotta collect 1,000 ectoplasm. Then we got Ruler of the Night and the Ghost, which you can get for 100 ectoplasm and 250 ectoplasm. Moving on, we got Slayer of God, and for this one, you gotta unlock the Graveyard Secret, which gives you a skin for your Dark Blade. Moving on, we got Hakashin, and for this one, you gotta get every single hockey color in the game, including ones you can find at events, and this one is probably one of the most difficult ones on this list. Next up, we got Realm Creator, and for this one, you gotta unlock the Winter Sky hockey color. Next up, we got Bringer of Doom. For this one, you gotta unlock the Pure Red hockey color, True Heart for Snow White, the Enchanter for unlocking any aura color. Then we got the Hurricane, and for this one, you gotta unlock the True Triple Katana, one of the most powerful swords in the game. And you also get Demon Eye for this exact same thing. And for unlocking Superhuman, you get the Killer title as well as Human Weapon. Quite fitting if you ask me, because it's a very overpowered fighting style. Next up, we got Apex Predator, and for this one, you gotta defeat 25 players in the same server, which is extremely difficult to do if you're not a PvP pro. Moving on, we got Cold Blooded, and for this one, you gotta defeat 10 players in the same server. Then we got the Protagonist, and for this one, you gotta defeat 2 or more players at the same time. That means you have to fight them at the same time and kill them at the same time. That is incredibly difficult to do. Moving on, we got Raging Demon, and for this one, you gotta defeat 20 players, each of them obviously taking Bounty or Honor to kill, and all without dying in the same server. Next up, we got Unstoppable Force, and it's the exact same thing, but you only gotta kill 5 players, which is much easier to do. Then we got Luck of the Draw, and for this one, you have to obtain a fruit that's worth more than 1 million from the Blox Fruits gacha, which is kinda difficult to do, but with enough rolls, you can definitely get there. Moving on, we got Risk Taker, and for this one, you just gotta purchase a fruit from the Blox Fruit gacha. Moving on, we got the Stalker, and for this one, you have to defeat a player that's the exact same level as yours. Next, we got the Executioner, and for this one, you have to die to a max level player, which is kinda difficult to do if you're still in the first or second seed. Next up, we got the Silent, and for this one, you have to die to a player below level 800. Pretty random title. Then we got the Samurai, and for this one, you have to unlock the Rengoku sword by defeating the Awakened Ice Admiral in the second seed. Next up, we got Sharkman, and for this one, all you gotta do is unlock Sharkman Karate. Then we got Burning Leg for Dead Step, and we got Dragonborn for Dragon's Breath. Next up, we got the Wicked Captain title, and for this one, you have to obtain the Dark Code by defeating Darkbeard. Next, we got Night Owl, and for this one, you have to buy a fruit that costs more than 1 million from the Blox Fruit dealer. Next up, we got Lavish Living, and for this one, you can just buy any fruit from the Blox Fruit dealer. Next up, we got the Kraken, and for this one, you gotta drop a fruit into the sea. So if you're doing this, I definitely recommend a really terrible fruit. Maybe something like the Rocket or Chop. Moving on, we got Kind Hearted, and for this one, you just have to simply drop a fruit. Not sure why the title is Kind Hearted, because you can pick it back up again and you still get the title. Next up, we got Knight's Edge, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Cursed Captain once. Next, we got Beyond Death, and for this one, you have to defeat the Order boss once. Next, we got the Cursed one, and this is for defeating the Darkbeard boss. We got Heavenly Devil for defeating Dawn Swan. Next, we got the Hidden Power title, and for this one, you have to just eat a physical fruit, which isn't that difficult to do. Next, we got the Troll, and for this one, you have to die with a fruit in your inventory. Next, we got the Forbidden one. For this one, you have to find the Fist of Darkness in a chest, which is incredibly difficult to do. Next, we got the Lost Soul, and you have to die to Factory Poison for this. Next, we got the Beast, and for this one, you got to defeat 25 whole Sea Beasts. Then we got Beast Hunter, and for this one, you just have to defeat 1 Sea Beast. Next, we got the Swordsman, and for this one, you got to get a sword from the Legendary Sword Dealer, which is kind of pricey, especially if you're broke. Next, we got the Collector, and for this one, you got to buy something from the Legendary Sword Dealer or the Master of Auras. Next up, we got the Rich tile, and for this one, you have to get 5 million belly. Next, we got Unlimited Money, and for this one, you got to get 20 million plus belly. Then we got the Richest in the World, and for this one, you have to have 50 million plus belly, and which makes this an incredibly difficult title to obtain. I literally don't even have it. Next, we got Equal to the Heavens, and for this one, you got to defeat a Blox Fruit staff member, and I don't think a lot of players are capable of this, because the admins in this game have some crazy abilities. Next up, we got Blessed One. For this one, all you got to do is find a fruit. Then we got the Toxic. For this, you have to win a fruit from the factory event. Then we got Tide Warrior. For this, you just have to drown yourself. Next, we got the Champion, and for this one, you have to complete Bartillo's mission. Next, we have the Flash, and for this one, you got to complete a raid in less than 3 minutes 30 seconds, which is incredibly difficult to do. Then we got the Supersonic. For this one, you got to complete a raid in 5 minutes. Next is Last Hope, and for this one, you have to be the last standing player in a raid, which you can obviously get if you're doing the raid solo, and I do a lot of solo raids, so this one's pretty easy for me. Next up, we got the Conqueror. For this one, all you have to do is simply complete a raid. Then we got Broken Heart. For this one, you got to run out of time in a raid. Next up, we got Fist of Death, and for this one, you have to reach max mastery on any fighting style. Then we got God's Blade, which you have to reach max mastery on a sword. Then we got King Sniper. For this one, you got to reach max mastery on a gun. Then we got Beyond the Sea, and for this one, you have to reach max mastery on a Blox Fruit, which is probably the hardest. Next up, we got Unbreakable Will. For this one, you got to reach max mastery with a sword, gun, or fighting style. Then we got the Master, and you get this for the exact same thing. Moving on, we got the Explorer. For this one, you got to reach level 800. Then we got the Adventurer for level 1000, the Mercenary for level 1200, the Viking for level 1600, the Pioneer for level 2000, and the Glorious for level 2400. Then we got Ship Destroyer. For this one, you got to defeat a ship with a cannon. Then we got the Dog, and for this one, you have to talk to the doghouse. Pretty useless, but I guess you can say you have the title. Then we got the Mastermind, and for this one you have to defeat your opponent in a chess game, which is pretty simple to do if you have an alt account. Then we got the Mad King, and for this one you have to use castling in a chess match. And if you don't know how that works, search it up. Then we got Immortal Being, and if you don't know how that works, it's basically when you switch the position of your king and your rook. Then we got Immortal Being, and for this one you got to receive damage from a player and survive with 1 HP left, which is incredibly difficult to do. Next up we got the Undefeated one, and for this one you got to receive damage from a player and survive with less than 50 HP left. Next we got Jack of all trades, and for this one you have to trade fragments for a stat refund. Then we got the Grandfather to trade fragments for a race reroll. Next up we got the Shadow, and for this one you got to stay in a server for more than 1 hour. Then we got the Vampire, and for this one you have to stay in the server for more than 4 hours. Next up we got Dracula, and for this one you have to stay in the server for more than 12 hours. Moving on, we got the Professor, and for this one you just have to buy a special microchip. Then we got the Mad Scientist, and for this one you have to buy a regular microchip. Then we got Ultra Instinct, and for this one you have to reach max observation level. Then we got Iron Man, and for this one you have to reach max hockey level. After that we got Fallen Hero, and for this one you have to die to a raid boss, and I can tell you I've done this a couple of times. Then we got the Vanquished, and this one is pretty simple, you just have to die to any boss in the game. Then we got the Unlucky, and for this one you just have to die to a regular enemy. Moving on, we got Empty Vessel, and for this one you have to run out of energy. Moving on, we got Justice Seeker, and for this one you have to claim a bounty as a marine. Moving on, we got some pretty cool titles. The Red Legion title, you get it by joining the Red Legion group. Then we got Rift Family, and you get this by joining the Rift Family and receiving a higher roll. Same goes for the one before. Then we got El Crazy Editor, and for this one you got to defeat Zeolus. Moving on, we got Endless Fantasy, you have to defeat the YouTuber Raijo N. Then we got Nakama Forever, and for this one you got to defeat me and you. After that we got El Combo God, and for this one you have to defeat Fear 999. And you get the Team JC title by defeating JCWK, you get the Kit Kat title by defeating Kit Gaming, you get the Magic Slayer title by defeating Magic Bus, you get the Herora family title by defeating Herora. Next we got Mafia Gang, which you get by defeating Bloxy Gaming. Next we got the Don Exori family, which you get by defeating the Exori YouTuber, which is one of the most OG YouTubers in the Blox Fruit community. Then we got Water Gang, and for this one you got to defeat Dyrock. Then we got Officially a Noob, and for this one obviously you have to defeat Official Newbie. Then we got A Squad, and for this one you got to defeat the Great Ace. Next up is the YouTuber title, and for this one you have to be a Blox Fruit YouTuber in good standing, which means you basically need a lot of subscribers. And you obviously have to be on good terms with the Blox Fruit devs. Next we got Big News, and for this one you have to redeem the code Big News. Pretty useless title, but I guess you can get it. But I guess it's pretty easy to have. Next we got the Ben Lord Toad title, and for this one you have to complete the April Fool's 2023 event, and it's obviously no longer obtainable. Next we got the Innovator title, and for this one you have to vote at the Roblox Innovation Awards. You have to vote at the Roblox Innovation Awards 2023, which you obviously can't get anymore. Next up we got a bunch of Awakening titles. For the Flame Awakening you get the Flame Fist title. You get Ice Queen and the Ice King title for Awakening the Ice Fruit, the Strongest One for the Quake Fruit, the First Light for the Light Fruit, Dark Lord for the Dark Fruit, the Spider for the Spider Awakening, Thunder God for Rumble, the Red Dog for Magma, Colossal God for Buddha, Desert Prince for Sand, and the Phoenix for Phoenix. And obviously Bread Chaser for the Dough Awakening. And once you awaken any fruit in the game, you automatically get an extra 4 titles. You get Over Hell, Over Heaven, Awaken 1, and Enlighten 1. Next we got the Admiral title, and for this one you gotta reach 10 million plus honor. Then we got Fleet Admiral, for this one you gotta reach 20 million plus honor. Next we got Warlord of the Sea, and for this one you gotta reach 10 million plus bounty. Then we got Emperor of the Sea and Empress of the Sea, and for this one you gotta reach a 20 million plus bounty. Moving on, we got Pirate Hunter and Bounty Hunter, and for this one you have to have 5 million bounty or honor. Moving on, we got a bunch of titles for the races. The Unleashed is for Human V2, Unmatched Speed is for Rabbit V2, Sea Monster is for the Shark Shark V2, Sacred Warrior is for Angel V2, the Ghoul is for Ghoul V2, Cyborg is for Cyborg V2, Full Power is for the Human V3, Godspeed is for the Rabbit V3, Warrior of the Sea is for Shark V3, Perfect Being is for Angel V3, for Ghoul V3 you get Hellhound, for Cyborg V3 you get War Machine, and finally we're on to the V4s. You get Berserker for Human V4, Thunderbolt for Rabbit V2, Leviathan for Shark V3, His Majesty for Angel V4, and for Ghoul V4 you get the Nightwalker title, and for Cyborg V4 you get Genesis. Moving on, we got some special unobtainable titles that you cannot get unless you're very good friends with the owners. The first one is the Blox Fruits official title, and for this one you got to be a co-owner of Blox Fruits. Next up we got the owner title, which has the same requirements. Then we got El Rodolfo official, and for this one you have to be an admin. Then we got Festive Jester, for this one you have to be an experiment. Then we got Loco Verde, and for this one you just have to be Rip Indra. He basically just gave the title to himself. Then we got Sables Pesado, and for this one you have to be Airway. Then we got Los Original Bestia Supremi Loco Verde. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. For this one you got to be Drip Mama. Next up we got Brazil God with a bunch of text I can't read, and for this one you got to be Burquad. Then we got El Papi, and for this one you have to be Uzi London. Next up we got Lost Crazy Real official, and for this one you got to be Guashim. Next we got the James Charles title, and for this one you got to be Rip Inderson. Then we got this one, and I really can't pronounce it, and for this one you got to be Uzot. Next up we got Dragon of Dojima, and for this one you have to be Tortoise, also known as Kiryu Kazama. Then we got the Rip Family Leader, and for this one you have to be Rip Indra. Then we got History's Strongest Loser, and for this one you have to be Safi Dev. Then we got the I Am Atomic title, and for this one you have to be Silent Ashura. And that's it, that's all the titles.